What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I know I'm a little late, but things are rolling. I'll try to get everybody caught up on the big night. Well, the first big night, because there's other states, obviously, across the U.S. that still need to do their primaries. So, try to get you guys caught up. We'll see what's going on across America tonight. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Alabama. I think I said Oregon, Idaho, all that. So they're all going at it tonight. They're all fighting. Big night across America. I'm waiting for the California one. That's what I'm waiting for. I don't know about y'all, but that's the one. That's the big boy I'm waiting for. I want to see the Cali going back to back to Cali. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the Cali one. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, share. Super chats are open as well. Donation links are pinned on Facebook and YouTube. So yes, that is what's happening. I see you. So I'm going to get into it. I know there's several different feeds. The East Coast stuff has already came in. Like I said, I want to try to get you guys caught up on it. If Simply's in here, Tommy Massey did not win Kentucky. I know that's going to break some people's hearts. Some people are happy about that. Some people are not. Tommy did not win Kentucky.
Sugar high of
Here we go.
Defeating Cassidy, endorsing Paxton. Does he want to wade in?
Where's this at? That's Georgia.
To make it
Votes in
3
36%.
in the Georgia Senate race, behind Collins, perhaps, and sort of
if you're in the Collins camp, you're probably
Oregon goes tonight.
Why not strike while the
probably
iron's
going to be.
It's been a good couple of days for
absolutely.
He's the
first
because it's Oregon, you guys.
Right now,
it's probably going to be.
And like I said,
Kotex will probably stay in.
Love lost in the past between.
Well, I mean, Kotex's going to stay in, but
Donald Trump. And does he want to
up against her will probably be Drazen, but she can't beat her.
Kemp's chosen candidate.
Unless
Let me let some viewers weigh in.
Ed might.
Do have them calling in. Daniel, Knoxville, Tennessee, Republican.
Oh,
there we go.
Your thoughts on tonight? Are you a Volunteers fan?
Let me get my stuff on.
Yeah, of course.
Facebook.
What are your thoughts on Derek Dooley, the former coach?
Well, you know what? I think the Trump vote here and the Trump endorsement is going to be the number one biggest factor. We've seen that nationwide. I mean, looks like Mike Collins is likely going to take it. I don't necessarily know if Dooley's going to pull it out. I understand that he's got some establishment support inside the state, but I mean, if you just saw what happened in Kentucky, you're seeing what's happening nationwide. I think Republicans have underestimated the Trump endorsement, and you know, I don't know what that necessarily says for the Republican Party, but this is very, very clearly Trump's party.
Jessica Taylor.
Well, as a fellow Vols fan,
I think that
it's coming down to the fourth quarter here, and Derek Dooley sometimes was not too great in the fourth quarter.
Well, I was playing for overtime.
He's playing for overtime, and I agree with the caller. And nice to have a fellow Tennessean on the line there. Thank you for calling in.
I looked it up today. I think his record as a head coach was something like 31-41, something like that. Not a winning record.
It was really bad. Those are years I like to try to forget about as a Tennessee fan. But Derek Dooley, if he can come in here and make the runoff, listen, it's a new ball game in the runoff for him. And he will have Kemp's support. But again, Mike Collins, if he gets Trump support, that is what we have seen throughout the night, throughout this election cycle.
We've talked about it.
Still the most important endorsement to get in a Republican primary.
Only 36% reporting at this point. Is that a slow reporting for Georgia?
So ask you guys,
what do we know about Georgia reporting and times when we're
still going at it?
Results really start coming in.
It's usually pretty much
still going at it.
Yeah, Georgia. I believe the polls closed.
I'll check out a couple different feeds.
going along the process.
So here's
here
my
right now. There's a
question
lot
for
of
you
mail-in
guys then.
ballots in Georgia as
Do I have a
well.
right to
So
speak
we'll
since I didn't
be
vote?
waiting for a little
I didn't
bit
vote
here.
in this stuff.
I wouldn't
I'm
be
not.
surprised if
I don't know if I'm going to go back
a
into the
Mike
whole
Collins
system
at
of
least
voting.
making the runoff,
Honestly,
advancing here soon.
I
What
told
we're
you
really
guys
going to
that.
be watching, to Jessica's point, is that race between
I still use my First Amendment.
Buddy Carter for that second spot.
Thank you,
Goes
Benjamin.
to Plano, Texas. Ben,
Thank you.
Republican.
Appreciate it.
What have you been watching for tonight? What's been most interesting to you?
Well, I guess the endorsement of
Pinko
Paxton
Pink.
over Cornyn.
Can I
think that was kind
can I
of a
still use my
mistake.
First Amendment?
But really, just calling in to say good riddance to Thomas Massey. Thank you all so much for having me.
Ben, why do you think it was a mistake? We lost Ben, but we'll go to John in Florence, Massachusetts, independent. John, go ahead.
Yes, amen.
course.
Goodbye to Thomas Massey,
I'm
the
black.
traitor to the party. I want to know why, when polls are cited, we never get the number of people in the polls. And that's out of 355 million people in the country when they talk about approval ratings for the president or any of these other things. So I'm just curious, why do they use a few thousand people to represent 355 million and then disingenuously say 68% of Americans feel this way? Why do they use that disingenuous
They're
poll?
mad.
John, is there any polling company that you have particular faith in, or you just don't trust any polls?
There's not enough people in the polls to make any kind of judgment on anything. It can be swayed by the part of the country that you call, the callers that are answering their phones, what party they're from. I mean, it's a few thousand people, and you say that represents 90% of the American people feel a certain way about President Trump. That's absolutely ridiculous. Does anybody think that 2,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 people represent 355 million people?
John, I got your point. Would encourage you on our Washington Journal show. We often have pollsters come on, and we get this question, and they talk about the science of polling and methodology. But they do always say that the best polls are the polls on election day, when people can go and cast their votes. So appreciate the call from Massachusetts. Let me get just a couple more calls in because they're coming in fast and furious. This is Mike in North Carolina, Republican. Go ahead.
Republican.
Good evening. Yeah, like the other caller said, good riddance to Massey. Well, he'll do like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they'll have episodes of The View and CNN and MSNBC. But your the lady there, you're talking
Jessica
about
Taylor, Political Report.
Yes. The redistricting, you're talking about the Democrats are calling it all Jim Crow and all this and stuff. Okay, they got all the stats and everything. How many in the New England states like Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, Maine, how many of them are, voter percentage Republican and Democrat? They don't have zero Republican representation. And South is doing this, doing the redistricting here. It ain't that we're redoing anything else different. We're catching up to what the Democrats in the northern states, California, Chicago, Illinois, all of them states are doing. And now that the southern states and the southern governors is grown up at a pair of to do the exact same thing that they've done years ago.
Got your point.
Do we have the expert Jessica Taylor weigh in on that a little bit?
Maine has 2 congressional districts. New Hampshire has 2 congressional districts. There's a lot fewer congressional districts in many of these New England states.
I got some
so, it's not split 50-50, but I think that I want to
see Oregon, guys.
And I think that we are certainly moving away. Like I said, I think that overall, but if this is going to happen tit for tat, I mean, I think that you will see other states like Colorado that do have that does have some Republican districts. I think you will see them redraw it. Kemp has called a special session in Georgia to redraw for 2028. I think that we're
not going to be done with redistricting at the end of 2026.
It's the start of it right now.
I mean, do you see a redistricting battle in some states every 2 years? I mean, is the redistricting genie out of the bottle?
It's definitely out of the bottle, at least for the near future here. You look at, Republicans might be maxing out right now on how many seats they can redraw in 2026. But Democrats, as Jessica was saying earlier, they have a lot more runway that they can run with here in 27 and in 28. You can look at somewhere like New York.
Okay, hold on.
Colorado's already starting the process. Maryland is reconsidering drawing the lines. Virginia is also probably going to try again after this state Supreme Court ruling. If Democrats have a really good night in Minnesota and they get super majorities in the state legislature, you could probably see them try to redraw. This is now an arms race, and Democrats have a lot more arrows in the quiver. And then if you're looking beyond 2028, we're going to have the census in 2030. We're going to have another big redraw, reapportionment.
Whoever we need to face in a runoff election, and as he has been doing throughout the entire primary season, he very quickly pivoted to talking about Senator Jon Ossoff. That is the Democrat who we know ran unopposed in the Democratic primary this cycle, and he will be the person that the Republican will have to face in November. And repeatedly, we've heard Mike Collins and the other candidates, for that matter, saying that they don't believe that Jon Ossoff has represented the term that I keep hearing from them is Georgia values in his voting record in the time that he's been in the Senate, and that they feel like he's been somebody who's gotten support from places far away from Georgia, from California, from New York, in terms of dollars added to his campaign coffers. And they pointed to that as a potential liability. And those are the sorts of things that we've really been hearing from Mike Collins and the other candidates. Mike Collins, though, going into potentially November, and even going into this runoff next month, as he has been over the last several weeks in particular, is going to face a lot of questions and a lot of accusations around this House ethics investigation that's been going on for several months now. One that where there's been an accusation made that he misused congressional dollars for his office. And repeatedly, we've heard him call those accusations bogus. He said that a complaint is just a complaint. It doesn't seem to be something that he wants to talk much about. But you better believe, Hallie and Kristen, that if he goes up against Buddy Carter in particular, who has hammered him on the airwaves on that particular issue here in Georgia, that's going to be something that we're going to hear repeatedly going into that runoff. And as Buddy Carter and Derek Dooley have pointed out, if Collins is the person to go up against Jon Ossoff in November, that is going to be something that Jon Ossoff is going to be able to use against him potentially, ladies.
Plenty of drama left in that race tonight here on primary night. Aaron Gilchrist, thank you very much, live for us there in Georgia. Appreciate that.
All right, speaking of drama, let's go back to Steve Kornacki at the center of all of the drama. You have Pennsylvania up. Bob Brooks, what are you looking at?
Yeah, again, that 7th district race, about 10% of the votes going to come out of Carbon County here. And we just got our first readout on Carbon County, the mail vote there. But again, the significance here is Brooks winning this big here. And look, you got to go all the way down here to 4th place to find Crosswell. So the consistent thing that we've heard from all 4 districts in some way. Carbon County, Monroe County, look, Brooks leading there. Northampton County, we got more than half the vote, and a big chunk just came in, and Brooks continues to lead there big. And then you go to Lehigh County. It's the only place Brooks isn't leading, but he's only half a point behind Crosswell.
Okay, so tonight is to elect
so we've now heard from
or select, however you want to say it, people who will run for November to go against the current governor, or if the current governor is kicked out,
thank you for that.
If they're done, it'll be against two people.
45 seconds away.
Isn't that correct? That's what tonight is for.
Coast, and it has been a night of some interesting moments, Kristen. I don't know any huge surprises necessarily, although Ed Galrine, I would say, is super interesting over Thomas Massey.
So, for instance,
in
when
Kentucky,
California
you've got
goes,
Georgia,
whoever wins that will
Steve
go
has
against
laid out
Mayor
here,
Bass.
watching to see who advances to the runoff, who doesn't, and what that means for that critical Senate seat come November.
And we'll go against,
the 3rd district in
the 2 will go
Pennsylvania
against
is very interesting, where the candidate
the 2
who
will
has
go
the
against
backing
each
of the
other because Newsom's
establishment
leaving. So there'll be a Democrat and Republican against
right now,
tearing off in November or against each other.
You find the Philly race interesting?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit interesting.
Kristen Welker. It is now, we can say, top of 9 Eastern here in Washington, and we've got a lot going on here on NBC News Now.
That's right, we do. We have a call to make. In fact, NBC News can project Senator Tommy Tuberville will be the Republican nominee for governor in Alabama. Not a surprise. He got the president's endorsement early on and has been a huge supporter.
His Democratic opponent for that race still too early to call, but look at this. Former Senator Doug Jones out in front, at least for a short term. This would potentially set up a rematch, albeit for the governor's mansion in this state, although, of course, Tuberville would be the heavy favorite.
That's right. And in Pennsylvania, any minute now, we expect to hear from Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. And NBC News can project he will be the Democratic nominee there. Not a surprise. He was running.
That's exactly right, Sam. On the Republican side is Stacey Garrity there. But this is an interesting one in the state of Pennsylvania. So critical, not just in 2026, in the fight for control of the House of Representatives, but come 2028 too.
That's right. We're also tracking all the big House races in Pennsylvania, which we've been talking about. NBC News can project Bob Harvey as the Democratic nominee for the state's 1st district. It's a huge race for the balance of power in the House. Democrats basically have to win there to take back the chamber.
And Harvey may have an uphill battle against the congressman that you are about to see, of course, and that is Brian Fitzpatrick, one of the few Republicans who came out on top in a district that former Vice President Kamala Harris won back in 2024.
But there is plenty of drama that we're continuing to track tonight, like
Oregon.
in Georgia, the race for Senate on the Republican side, still too early to call.
This one looks likely to be headed for a runoff, at least at the moment, and whoever wins ultimately there is going to go up against Senator incumbent Jon Ossoff, the Democrat, of course. Democrats have got to hold on to that seat if they want to try to take back the Senate. Again, that's the framing for so much of what we're talking about tonight. What is going to happen come November?
Yeah, who's going to have the balance of power? And, of course, the big race that we've been watching all night in Kentucky. Ed Gallurine, the projected winner in the 4th district there. That is over. Congressman Thomas Massey had a huge show of strength for the president and his hold over
It wasn't
the
that
Republican
bad.
Party. And with
Wasn't
that,
like
we do want to go back to Steve Kornacki.
What,
Steve, take us
5,000
inside
people?
some of the numbers in Pennsylvania that you're seeing. You're
Bad
getting
lose.
more vote count in.
Yeah, a couple things here. We just showed you the 7th district here.
That wasn't
we
a
are
bad
waiting
lose.
for the next update here from the 3rd district in Philadelphia. Again, you're looking at the vote by mail here. So the next thing that's going to come in slowly potentially is that election day vote. But
Bro,
Ayla Stanford here,
Seth,
again, leading with
This
about
is
a
my point,
quarter of the
which is
vote
why I
counted.
didn't vote. One
And
reason why I
some
didn't
of the
vote.
precincts
Nothing
are
has
looking
changed.
to
So
do
why am I going to
relative
vote
to her support. But again,
exactly
that
for what you're
election day
saying?
vote look different
If
than the
nothing
early
has
vote. That's the
happened,
question right
there's
there.
been no
And
fix, no
starting to come
change.
in now
Why would I vote?
slowly in
Why would
Alabama,
anybody
that
vote?
Republican
This
Senate
is
primary
the whole
and
thing that we all
more
complained about and
congressmen
talked about
endorsed
was,
by Donald
oh, the
Trump.
machines
There's
are
a
messed up. The
scattering of
machines
votes
are
that
messed
in
up.
right now. Some from
Are they
Baltimore and
fixed?
Mobile, that is part of Barry
Are the
Michener's
machines
district.
fixed? Tell me that they're
Georgia, as
fixed,
you
and maybe
mentioned,
I'll go
that
back and
Senate,
vote.
that Republican
Someone
Senate
tell me that the
primary,
machines are
continuing
fixed.
to look at that battle for 2nd place between Dooley and Carter. Which
Someone
could be
tell me, oh yeah, it's all
runoff.
fixed.
One other thing, it's close.
This was,
I don't
I thought
know
this is what we
how much
ran,
this is
what
gonna
people
be
were saying for
consequential
the
for fall,
past
but let's
6
put this
years.
in here because there is the Senate race in Kentucky. You know that Andy Barr has won the Republican nomination. He had Donald Trump's backing. I will say the
Seriously,
primary
isn't that what we
is
said for
a
6 years, that
close
machines are
fight.
broke and now they're fixed? I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't know. Are they fixed or not?
Amy McGrath with that 3-point advantage.
There are machines. So are
big place we have not heard from yet in Kentucky.
we don't have machines? Okay, maybe you guys don't in your state, but some people do. So either the machines are rigged, still rigged, or they're fixed, and we just don't know that they're fixed. What is it?
You did run in this part of the state, but that's going to be a very
It's
significant
great.
for this race when you get Fayette County.
It's a
Too
shock
early
that
to
people are
call.
so close.
Maybe
Well,
they
it's
could
also a
count
race, I think
votes
it's
for
just
another
gone
6
under the
or
radar.
so.
Most of these candidates, do have
Yeah.
name recognition in Kentucky from past campaigns. For that matter, they have some name recognition.
You should still vote, even if the
from
machines
past
are,
campaigns.
even though if
The
we don't
draft
trust the
race is
process
under
in the
this
machines,
schedule
we should
to
still
be able
vote.
to translate it into
Hope that
general
makes sense.
election
Isn't that
success
called
here.
like insanity or
But
something?
yeah, again, under the radar.
You complain about
Obviously, a
something for
race where
6 years,
whoever
but
is
go
the
vote
nominee
for
here will
something
get
that's
the
not
prohibitive
fixed.
underdog in the general election in a state like
That's the way to
Kentucky.
hold them accountable, huh?
By 30
Just go
points.
vote.
But
Continue to do the same thing that we said that, hey, well,
bit of suspense tonight.
It sure is. All right, Steve Kornacki, thank you so much.
As we talk about all
this is the
things
type of stuff that
Pennsylvania
Nick is
in
talking
that time
about.
of the night, we want to go back to Philadelphia and NBC Philadelphia's Lauren Make, friend of the show, friend of us here.
Just
at NBC
saying.
News Now. Lauren, we've been talking about sort of the dynamics in some of these
Just
key
saying.
battlegrounds come November. We expect to hear from Governor Josh
Right,
Shapiro,
just
set to
just
speak
in
in a
Washington,
minute.
it's a
We know
mail-in.
he'll have his
Exactly.
nomination tonight. I'm told by a person close to his team that he is going to be laying out the stakes, not just in Pennsylvania, but broadly about what this moment means ahead of the midterms.
Yeah, I would expect that would be
I
the
said
case
this
as well.
earlier.
Sort of a
All
big
of this
speech that sets the table
here,
for
the political stuff
November.
climate,
We know that there
exactly
are a
this.
number of
Distraction.
districts, congressional districts
Exactly.
in Pennsylvania that could be critical to who controls
That's what it
the
is.
House
In
next
America,
year. And
all
then
this is
his
distraction.
own race. And it occurs to me that this race that he is entering in right now, this re-election race, is different than the one that he ran 4 years ago. Donald Trump was not president 4 years ago. We were in a different administration. And so when Josh Shapiro was able to really be extremely successful in that race, a double-digit win for him, he also had a lot of success in red areas as well. And so the question now is, will he be able to replicate that same kind of success in those redder areas at a time when he is talking about how he has stood up to President Trump. Will that message carry him in those areas, and how will he sort of balance those two things, those success in those more purple and redder areas, with also sort of carrying the mantle for Democrats?
Lauren, part of the test is the candidates that he's backed tonight and that he's going to back in November. Just like President Trump, it's a bit of a test of his own power in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we already saw this. He had some success already because he backed Bob Harvey, and we know that he has won his primary and is going to be going up against Brian Fitzpatrick in Bucks County. And now we'll wait to see what happens with Bob Brooks in the Lehigh Valley. That is one where he definitely is very involved. Bob Brooks, he has a history with the head of the firefighters union, and sort of choosing him as someone who could represent Democrats and reach out to some of the Democrats that the party has lost. But he was taking a little bit more of a risk in the Lehigh Valley because there's a larger field there, and really sort of putting his thumb on the scale than maybe in areas like Bucks County. So we'll watch to see both if Bob Brooks
my vote might have counted twice. You are correct. It could have counted twice.
Numbers are.
I'm not dead yet, so
Absolutely. All right, Lauren, stand by because there are a lot of races we're still watching very closely
Oregon.
in Pennsylvania.
Oregon.
We appreciate your analysis,
including the one, the seat. This is one that we're watching necessarily not tonight, but
Shapiro,
come November,
he?
which is the Scott Perry seat. And I believe I'll check with our control room here. His opponent, Janelle Stelson.
It's distraction from the war. Exactly.
This is a rematch.
I just said this stuff today, you guys. This is all distraction from what's
news person.
the main,
exactly.
the
and
main
this is
issue.
one.
The main thing that Americans don't want us to be focused on or looking at is the war. And this is why I personally myself like Alex Jones, because he shows us the things that we will not see no place else, or the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. He shows it. And he's not the only one, but the main focus of everything is the East. That's why the East does not like the West, and we can go into all that type of stuff later.
And then he takes positions, him and Chip Roy.
Just saying.
I've always believed if you follow the Freedom Caucus advice,
the East is what we need to be paying attention to. The East is it. The East
if we're going to be
sets the
spending
course
money
of
here,
everything.
we're not spending money trying to win more seats.
Not New York, not LA.
Totally clear.
The East is what sets the course.
Not necessarily among the most liked members in his own conference over
Here's
his
my
term.
doom and gloom
There
for the
won't be
evening.
A ton of people
There might be
riding
more,
to his aid
but
voluntarily should that race get.
And you
know,
talked about
so big.
Fitzpatrick banging down the
Patiently
doors,
waiting on the
knocking
rapture. I'm trying to
every
tell
neighborhood
people.
to make sure people knew him.
That's-
Perry doesn't have the same reputation, right?
The-
I mean, he has a much harder
The
time
scriptures
connecting
say
with
that
people.
heaven and earth will pass away. There's not going to be a future for them. Heaven and earth will pass away.
Congresswoman,
If I really want to get
let's
raw,
go back to the third
you could
district.
go all the way to what
There's
God's
a
going to do with the
cabinet
earth.
call. Janelle Stelton projected
Talk about doom and gloom.
to advance to the general election. But let's go back to the third congressional district, because the fact that you have Ayla Stanford out front right now, we don't know what's going to happen. But she wasn't backed by the establishment. She wasn't backed by the machine,
Democrats.
if you will. And here she
He looks
is
like my
sitting
friend
out front, a doctor
on the right,
worked at
street.
HHS.
Picked up a couple of congressional
Yeah,
endorsements.
and I think a lot of that was early vote, if I heard it correctly, or vote by mail as well. But you know, when you think about the
It's not
majority
doom
of
and
this
gloom, it's
district in
perception and
Philadelphia,
discernment.
it
Exactly.
is a diversity of issues.
Perception and
And I
discernment.
think people will not necessarily fall behind the establishment candidate.
And with wars
They're gonna go
and
with the
rumors of
person that they
wars,
feel
ask
comfortable with
yourself
and who
what
addresses
war
their
is
issues.
actually going
Now,
on.
we will see where it falls out, because you have a lot of
Facts.
different candidates in this particular race that bring a lot of different backgrounds. But we'll see what happens.
Amen.
You should be clear. She's not the progressive candidate like
No,
Chris
no,
Rock.
no,
And
she's
that's
not.
an
Yes, but
important
just-
distinction.
She has two good things going for her
Yeah.
that I'm setting outside. She got endorsed by the incumbent. You always want the incumbent member; they're popular. Secondly, she's
Dwight
the only
Evans.
woman in the
Yeah.
race, so you differentiate between. So look, I'm not following this race as a Democratic primary, but if I just look at the race right there, those are
Yeah.
the two things I say: who the incumbent endorsed, and I like the idea that you're the only woman against the other men.
She's also been a healthcue activist, and I wonder if that speaks
Yeah,
to
that's
another
absolutely
the bread and
correct.
butter issue. You know, this
Yeah.
is something
You
that
have more respect for doctors than other occupations. It is a good occupation to have. She's got I don't know what type of campaign she's running, but those are the advantages if you're just looking at who's running.
Let me ask our Philadelphia brain trust
Please.
a question here, because I, as someone who covers more Republican races than Democrats, do think of Philadelphia as kind of a machine city. It's not like the Harry Reid machine out in Nevada, but
Hold
it is
on,
a
I want
place
something
where
real quick,
the
you guys. I'm gonna
establishment
eat something right
does
quick.
carry a lot more
Well-
weight than it does in other parts of the country traditionally.
Gentlemen, speaking.
Do you think we might be seeing?
I want to thank the elected officials that were here today. Everybody got to see Russ Goodman here. Russ, he's been on our radio station 2 or 3 times now. I think we're going to end up adopting him here in this county. Everybody to ask me, is that guy really? He's a professional, isn't he? He's a professional. I was like, he's a professional blueberry farmer for sure. Yeah. But I want to thank everybody for that supported us, all our volunteers from all across the state. That's why I knew we would run strong, because
That's Burt Jones. He heads to the Georgia gubernatorial Republican primary runoff in 4 weeks. June 16th, he'll be facing Rick Jackson there. Now we head from the Peach State to the Keystone State. Governor Josh Shapiro talking to supporters, and we will listen in to what he has to say.
Son of a hairdresser and a union bus driver from Western Pennsylvania to the second most powerful job in our state. And I could not be more excited to wage this re-election campaign together. Thank you, Austin Davis. Thank you. You know, I am called to serve by my faith, and I've been guided on this journey of service by my family. The way my parents raised me to care about people around me. The way a girl in the 9th grade took a chance on me by granting me a first date at Goodnoe Farms in Newtown, right here in Bucks County. That date led to 29 years of a happy marriage, the blessing of 4 children, and a life dedicated to doing our part to repair the world. And so to Pennsylvania's First Lady, that girl I shared an ice cream and some cheese fries with back in, you ready for this, 1987. I love you. Tonight, Laura and I take another step on our journey of service. This work I do, you know, it comes with a responsibility to honor those who came before me and carry forward the baton of freedom and progress and democracy. Our first executive arrived on the banks of the Delaware River on a ship named Welcome in 1682. His name was William Penn. And he set out to build a place that would be welcoming for all, an example to the nations, he said. He was guided in this work by these core principles: the freedom to worship as you please, a government that was fair to its citizens, and free elections where people would choose their representatives. Now, 3.5 centuries later, we are gathered here tonight with a duty to protect those principles, to ensure that we do our part right now to pass them down to the next generation of Pennsylvanians. We have a responsibility to show that we will be the model to others who are watching us for our lead. I know that all feels at risk right now. I know we're worried and we're fearful and we're angry that this country that we love so much feels like it's slipping away, that the values that we hold dear are being squandered by a president and his band of enablers, hell-bent on injecting chaos and cruelty and corruption into our lives every day. But we are here tonight, all of us are here, because we choose not to be captive to the chaos. We choose not to be part of the cruelty. We choose not to turn a blind eye to the corruption. We are here tonight to push back, to say enough is enough, to reclaim our power and to stand together in common purpose, the Pennsylvania way. You know, my faith teaches me that no one is required to complete the task, but neither are we free to refrain from it. And so, with a firm commitment to staying in the game and doing my part. I stand before you tonight to again accept the Democratic nomination for governor of the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You know, in these divisive times and with a politically divided legislature, we've shown that we can be the example that Penn spoke of. Here, we've shown that we can get stuff done and do it in a way that respects all Pennsylvanians, no matter what you look like or where you come from, who you love or who you pray to or choose not to pray to. Together, we've increased investment in public education by 30% and drove those dollars out to the schools that need the most help. We've increased the number of teachers after years of decline and expanded mental health services in nearly 800 schools across our state. And now, free breakfast for all students is the law in Pennsylvania. I've taken on the utility companies and told them to their face that the rate hikes they were seeking were pure greed. We won, and we saved the people of Pennsylvania hundreds of millions of dollars on their energy bills. Pennsylvania has the only growing economy in the Northeast, creating nearly 23,000 new jobs during my time as your
Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania running for re-election. He's speaking to his supporters tonight from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Kirk Beto, why Bucks County? What's important about Bucks County?
Bucks County is one of the swingiest counties in the country. It's huge.
Swingiest.
It is of the if Pennsylvania is the epitome of a swing state, that is the swing county. It's right outside of Philadelphia. Anybody who wants to win Pennsylvania needs to win that. Anyone who wants to win the presidency needs to win that.
And yet, Jessica Taylor, this gubernatorial election, not a swingy election. It's very much in Josh Shapiro's safe category here.
We have it rated as solid Democrat. I mean, Stacey Garrity has raised just a fraction of the amount of money. She is not seen as a strong candidate in the least. But I think it's also not just that she's not seen as a strong candidate. Shapiro is seen as such a strong candidate. He is going to have a ton of money for this. I think the more he is able to run up the margin in this, he will help House candidates that are very crucial to not just a Democratic majority, but perhaps adding to a Democratic majority. And this is all about 2028. This is Josh Shapiro's audition for the Democratic primary.
Primaries tonight that we've been watching, obviously the Pennsylvania primaries, the gubernatorial primaries in the Keystone State. We've also been watching the Peach State, the Bluegrass State, the Gem State of Idaho is up, and the Beaver State of Oregon, and the Yellowhammer State of Alabama. Tyler is calling in from Athens, Alabama, Republican. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the primaries in your state?
Hey, thanks for having me first and foremost. I was proud to cast my vote for Tuberville today, but I wanted to see what you guys thought because he'll be going up against Doug Jones, who we know was an upset Senate winner, basically, and then Tuberville blew him out in 2020. So I'm just curious from the standpoint of looking at a governor race now, how we think somebody like a Doug Jones would fare against a Tuberville, who is incredibly popular, but Jones himself is incredibly popular too.
Jessica Taylor, you want to take the lead?
Thank you for the question. We do still rate this race as a solid Republican race, but it is one that I'm watching particularly to see if there's higher African-American turnout based on the specifically with redrawing of the district lines there. Could that help Jones? I do think that there are more people that probably voted against him in that race for Tuberville that might voted for him for governor. Voters view races for governor and votes for Senate as different because when you're voting for Senate, you're voting for a particular party that you want to control the chamber versus a vote for governor. You can vote more for the person. So I think that this will be a closer race. It's in a more favorable year, it looks like. And so I am watching to see what that margin is. It certainly will be an interesting race. Tuberville has come under fire for perhaps not living in the state as long as the residency requirement that you have to have in Alabama. But I still think that, listen, if a former Auburn coach can win in a state that's dominated by Alabama fans, I still think Tuberville is the favorite there.
What's the party split right now among governors in states, the 50 states?
After the last November, Republicans right now have 26 and Democrats have 24. So it's very close. For the first time since 2010, Democrats have a chance to capture a majority of the governorships, actually.
Kirk Vado, redistricting in Alabama, remind us where we are.
It's a mess is where we are in the short form here. The Supreme Court is allowing a lower court to decide if they can go back to a map that was used in 2023. And because that lower court has not issued a ruling yet, Kay Ivey, the governor there, has delayed primaries in 4 of the state's congressional districts until they get a ruling on that. So with all the rest of these Alabama voters going and getting their nominees today, or at least deciding who's going to be in a runoff, 4 of them have been delayed until August 11th.
How unusual is that? 2 different primary days depending on where you live in a state?
It is incredibly, incredibly unusual. And this is something that's going on in Louisiana as well, where they moved all of their House primaries, not on this, the past one this Saturday, but have delayed it till later this summer. And what they're doing there is basically holding all these early votes that came in before election day for these House races in this sort of like legal limbo, and they will decide to potentially throw them out if they get approved for this, when they get this new map approved. This is a brave new world that we're in right now, where it's almost like Calvin Ball a little bit, where we're making up the rules as we go along here.
Wow, a Calvin and Hobbes reference. I like that too.
Kurt coming with all the references tonight.
A few more calls before we have to say goodbye tonight. Harrison.
And I think, again, what's really looming large here in that race for second place is this right here, Fulton County, where the city of Atlanta is, largest county in the state. Even in a Republican primary, this one packs a big punch, about 6% of the vote. And just look, Dooley, this is where Dooley's doing the best. You could certainly expect he's going to get a good number out of Fulton County, and he now has opened up a 12,000 vote advantage over Carter. I know you've been talking about it with the panel. The question, though, becomes if this is a Dooley versus Collins runoff, and Dooley is looking at a pretty big gap between Collins and the preliminary, how do you make that up here? Yeah. And again, I think you're seeing demographically, Dooley's drawing from a very specific part of the state. A lot of votes there in the metro Atlanta area, but as you get away from it, Dooley hasn't been doing nearly as well. And Alabama, again, is coming in very slowly here in Alabama, though I do think it's notable. I do want to just check in here. Barry Moore is the Trump-endorsed candidate. Madison County, this is a big county. This is where Huntsville is. This is Steve Marshall's neck of the woods.
Huntsville, Alabama.
In North Alabama. Barry Moore's district's down here in South Alabama. Right. Even the vote we're seeing up here in Madison County in North Alabama, Barry Moore's leading there. So this is the Trump-endorsed candidate. It's just a scattering of votes, but at least in those early votes, you're seeing a geographical breadth to the support of Moore, from Mobile up to Huntsville. Mobile's his district. Huntsville's as far from his district as you can get. And yet in the initial count, he's leading there, and he's leading big there in his district. So again, with just a small scattering of votes in. But again, this is all candidates here aligning themselves publicly with Trump, but Trump aligning himself with Moore. We saw what happened in Kentucky earlier, Louisiana over the weekend, Indiana before that, how these Trump candidates have been doing in the primaries. Another test of it here in this Alabama Republican Senate primary tonight.
All right, well, we've still got some cliffhangers. Steve, thank you so much for that. And I think the Georgia race is so fascinating as we wait to see who the final 2 candidates are. Obviously, you see Derek Dooley opening up a little bit of a lead. Speaker McCarthy.
Democrats.
Yeah, for the second place, but Collins is so far ahead. Look, if they got to go to a runoff, it's advantage to Ossoff. And if I'm sitting and I'm the leader,
6
and I've
states hold critical primary elections.
I think Republicans are going to play, and they can fund it themselves. That saves you a lot of money.
You got a good clip of me throwing my hands around. I was banging on wax.
This Democrat senatorial committee is going to play.
If I look at Collins and Buddy Carter 6 months ago, I'm not sure what, if anything, differentiates them to voters statewide outside of their districts. When you look at that race, what do you see? Neither one of them got the big endorsements that were on the table there. What makes Collins stand out more than Carter?
Collins' father was a congressman before. He's a small business. He's more grassroots. And one thing he found when Collins went in,
you'll use it soon, I'm sure. Blackmail, huh?
He'd be up there walking. And so he's really developed a campaign issue, and he's passionate. I think he connected with all the Reagan and Lincoln Day dinners and from that perspective.
Is he vulnerable because of all of the ethics investigation?
Having our
swirling around him?
Well,
election,
it's not about
and then we're
him,
having
it's
a
about a
special
staffer.
election.
And the challenge you get within there, ethics doesn't tell you what's going on. Don't look well.
I think every ethics investigation, or at least a lot of them, has been about staffers. But
it's not that way.
But no. But I mean,
it's a male staffer
there was always
supposedly
staffers
overspent
involved,
from what I know of.
Yeah, and he's ultimately accountable.
It's not good to have an ethics.
But the bottom line is there will be a runoff. Whichever candidate comes out of that will be weakened because of what will happen during that runoff. You've already heard that Carter's going to just continue to nail Collins on the ethics investigation. He's already done that. And Jon Ossoff will be waiting for whoever that is. I think clearly he's going to win this.
I don't think that we should just assume that Mike Collins is definitely going to get Donald Trump's endorsement either.
Well, so
I think that's something that the Dooley campaign, along with Brian Kemp, have not given up on yet. I know that Dooley has met with Trump. He's tried to impress it upon him. One of the things that Dooley likes to remind Trump of is that his father, Vince Dooley, who was a legendary University of Georgia football coach, was one of the first prominent people in Georgia to endorse Donald Trump back in 2016.
Which the president will love.
Of course, the president loves. So
they look like brothers.
Closer, I'd agree with you.
Yeah, right. The problem is the chasm there.
Reach a difference between first and second.
Yeah.
I don't.
To that end, how much political capital does Brian Kemp spend on Dooley?
Miss
if
Pelosi,
they
huh?
start
You
to
want
run off and
Miss-
he's 12 or 15 points down? What does
Miss
Brian
Nancy,
Kemp want to do when he grows up?
But the other challenge is which one of these Republican candidates raise money like Ossoff?
Yeah.
There's also kind of a sunk
This
cost
is always
element
my
with the
question.
Brian Kemp piece of it too. I mean, he's been out with Dooley a ton. I think it was this race you were talking about dangling. You think the president will endorse at some point, and if it is Collins and Dooley, where do you think he does?
I think he'd go with Collins.
Okay.
Because Kemp is in a different place. Kemp recruited him, and it's not close between first and second, and Trump likes a winner.
We've got a call. We've got to make a projection here in a race that we have been talking about a lot in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and that is Pennsylvania 7. This is that critical district here. Bob Brooks, the projected winner. Steve has been tracking it here over Lamont McClure. There's others in the race as well. Ryan Croswell among them. This is obviously to take on Congressman McKenzie in what is going to be a big, big battleground. And it is going to be Bob Brooks who gets the spotlight of the National Democratic Party and the National Republican Party on him now moving forward over the course of the next 5 months. You heard Governor Josh Shapiro talk about the importance of the state of Pennsylvania come November. And now we have the projected winner, Steve Kornacki, looking through all of it here. Pennsylvania 7, the NBC News projection. You talked us through some of the numbers, some of the places that we were looking at. What stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, again, the breadth of it here for Brooks, we were looking at those 4 counties that make up this district come in. He's going to, it looks like, win all 4 of those counties. So it's a pretty thorough victory in this primary. And again, a reminder in terms of the general election implications here, Trump won the district by 3 points in 2024. Joe Biden won it by a point in 2020. Ryan McKenzie, the incumbent, won this by 1 point, about 4,000 votes. It was one of the closest congressional races in the country in 2024. It will be one of the most closely watched this fall. This is the candidate that Josh Shapiro, the governor, wanted. Say Bernie Sanders wanted too, and they will get that candidate to take a shot at McKenzie. Interestingly, though, as that was coming in, we finally got some election day vote down here in Philadelphia in the 3rd district. Now, remember, it was vote by mail before this, and we were asking, is the election day vote going to look a little bit different? If you remember, when we were looking at the vote by mail, Stanford was leading with 40% of the vote. So you can see what's happened. We've started to get the election day vote in, and at least in the precincts that reported so far, she's not doing nearly as well. In fact, what just came in, I wrote the numbers down here. What just came in was 41% for Street. Okay, the election day vote that we just got was 41% for Street, 31% for Rab, and only 25% for Stanford. Okay, now again, that's just a small amount of the election day vote. We got a lot more to go right here. Okay, and these precincts here can vote very differently depending on where they're coming in from. But that's what we were talking about. Would the election day vote look different than the same day vote? Here's an early indicator, just a reminder that it can. And already that Stanford number, which was over 40% when we first saw the vote by mail, has come down to 38. Street numbers come up a bit. It's going to have to come up a lot more. He's going to need a number like this across election day if he wants to catch her. And the Rab number stays pretty much exactly where it is. So Street with the boost from the election day vote we had, Stanford falls a little bit, but still a long way to go with that. But an interesting development there.
That's good intel. Because what you'll find is when you take that by vote, by mail, that's usually 2 weeks out. The whole campaign changes in the last 2 weeks. So what is the new attack? And if you're taking the day of the vote, is there enough to make up? And she looks like she's dropping some, but is there enough that he's winning?
All right, and we actually have a projection to make. This is a big one. NBC News can project in Georgia.
The suspense.
The suspense. Here it is. We can project that Mike Collins will advance to the general election, to a runoff, I should say.
It's a nugget, it's something.
Derek Dooley's still in second place, and we're waiting to see what happens between second and third place there. But again, Collins poised to go to a runoff. We've been talking about this race throughout the night. The big question now, of course, Hallie, will he get an endorsement from President Trump?
It is a big one, Kristen. I'll back you up on that because this seat is a big one, right? I mean, this is a seat that everybody's going to be watching. It's a huge flip seat.
I will say that in the waning days of this, Mike Collins was suggesting that perhaps he could get over the 50% threshold. So he set expectations sky high for these.
We'll get back to this. Let me just dip in with one more projection here, and that's Alabama governor. No surprises here. The projected winner for that primary, Doug Jones.
I think we can protect the general election too.
We would not officially do that at the decision desk.
Doug Jones is the last Democrat to win statewide in Alabama.
Who was the Republican? Setting up a bit of a rematch with Tuberville for a different seat. Although I think that, given how red Alabama is. Let's go back to Georgia for a second and get into that because, listen, we've been talking about Collins. We've been talking about the dynamics at play. And there's also a thread as we're looking for kind of these bigger themes of the night. I think there's an interesting one when you look at how some of these folks are campaigning. You touched on this a little bit when you were talking about who Congressman Collins is and how he's been running, trying to sort of cast himself as like a man of the people, right? I mean, he's somebody who can relate to people in Georgia. You see that with somebody like Bob Brooks on the Democratic side in Pennsylvania in that Lehigh Valley seat, casting himself as a fighter for the working class.
Well, and affordability.
And affordability, that's exactly right. Who's got the backing of unions? He's got the backing of Shapiro, the backing of Sanders, the backing of Buttigieg. I mean, it's the Democratic spectrum coalescing behind him.
Brooks, I'm fascinated by this because I'm on his email list, and every email begins firefighter Bob Brooks. They don't like hide their light under a bushel here, right? The firefighter thing is front and center. And I'm old enough to remember when Joe Biden was running for president in 2020, one of the first and most important endorsements he got was from the firefighters union.
Right.
Democrats have spent most of the Trump era trading blue-collar voters for highly educated, formerly Republican voters. And the math has not worked in their favor. That's why Donald Trump is president again right now. You saw Kamala Harris try to address this by picking Tim Walz as a running mate. That didn't work either. The idea of Brooks as someone who can appeal to these different cross-sections of the party and highlight his blue-collar qualifications as a politician and it's just like as a human being is, I think, something we're seeing reemerge in the Democratic Party that's really important. Look at it in Maine with Graham Plattner, where you've got another candidate trying to do the exact same thing. Whether it works or not remains to be seen, but it's a really critical part of the Democrats trying to put back together a national coalition that can win races.
And Congresswoman, it raises the question, is part of the strategy to take a page from the playbook from Governor Mikey Sherrill, for example, what we just saw in these gubernatorial races in New Jersey, in Virginia with Abigail Spanberg?
That's absolutely correct. I do believe that Bob Brooks is the perfect candidate for District 7. And getting back, and we have learned a painful lesson, right? Getting back to basics, getting back to practicing what we preach with people who have to go to work every day. Look, everybody loves firefighters. I have 2 sons that are firefighters. He just has the absolutely best profile to pull this off in November.
And what we heard from Governor Shapiro, what was fascinating, it sounded, I mean, yes, he was giving this victory speech, if you will, but there were clear themes that were looking towards 2028, would you say, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah, he's probably going to have a book coming out. He'll run for his governor campaign, he'll run turnout, especially in this district. My father was a firefighter. I was a firefighter. It's a great occupation. People love firefighters, right?
Yeah.
And so the Democrats under Trump, they gave up the union vote. They gave up doing the police and the crime, making sure your streets are safe. And they've got to make a decision going forward. Do they go this progressive route and keep giving up those issues? It's really an issue of how Obama or Clinton ran. Clinton put a 100,000 cops on the street. I mean, if you listen to the Democrats who want to run, I think one of them is really smart on his messaging, and that's Rahm Emanuel. He's really being honest. Now, I don't know that he'll become the nominee, but Shapiro, this is his moment to show he can win races and be a Democratic leader at the same time.
Whenever I talk to Democrats about what their messaging can be, what they want to shed more than anything is the red versus blue label, the Democrat versus Republican label. They want to once again become the party of the less than, the second half, the bottom half of the American class system. And that's the message that a Graham Plattner is trying to resonate with. He's not your typical Democratic candidate. He's not a typical politician. But what he's trying to connect with the average voter on is that I struggle just like you. I have to wait paycheck to paycheck before I make decisions for my household. And what they're hoping is that they connect that back to Donald Trump, who's a billionaire, who doesn't have those same sort of struggles that the everyday American does. But what I don't think we've talked about a lot here is that while the Republican brand is having a difficult time right now, the Democratic brand is not much stronger.
When I go out and talk to different groups, when I go out and talk to different groups, I tell them, stop talking about political parties.
Most, like the younger generation, they don't identify with either.
They don't really care, right? People care about what they're paying at the pumps. They care about their health care. They care about their children. They care about child care. They care about things that have nothing to do with political parties. So my message is, stop talking about parties. Let's talk about the issues and how we can work together to solve them.
And how much should Democrats talk about Trump, what we just heard from Governor Shapiro?
Look, I think that Democrats cannot afford to not talk about Donald Trump because he is the elephant in the room. If they want to talk about gas being $5, people believe, whether they're on the Republican side or the Democratic side, because I talked to both, that Donald Trump is responsible. Look at the polling. They say they believe, the overwhelming majority of people say they believe that Donald Trump is directly responsible.
Can I push on that, though? If you're a House candidate running in a random district, how much is it important that you say Trump? Like, Trump is omnipresent culturally and politically in this country. Why do you need to run against Trump? Why shouldn't you be running against Brian
Fitzpatrick? I didn't say run against Trump. I said I think it's almost impossible to not talk about Trump.
Well, sure.
Okay, well let's just make one point here. I mean, you made a point that the president is wealthy. That's true. But he identifies more with the working person. He was the one in the McDonald's drive-thru handing out in Pennsylvania.
Well,
this is where the Democrats don't quite understand. He's gone after the working class.
And he's losing,
and he identifies.
right now.
Why not talk about Donald Trump? That don't even make sense. So don't talk about.
I want to pick up on the top, bottom, right, left.
Don't talk about politics, but talk about
Donald
Donald Trump. It makes no sense.
Speaker.
I agree, Pinkle Pink. Let's not talk about the elephants that are in the room.
Charles Booker, Kentucky Senate on the Democratic side, projected in that Senate race here over Amy McGrath, who you see the numbers here, and I
don't want to talk about that stuff.
of the vote coming in now.
So this is
interesting. This is interesting, right? And go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I am sorry.
Don't talk about
interviewed
politics,
him
but talk
earlier
about
today.
Trump.
He said, I think I've got the momentum. He says, I think I've got the closing momentum. She was widely seen as someone who'd taken on Mitch McConnell directly. Yes, she had lost, but she had the name recognition.
Graham Paul.
Yeah,
Graham Paul as well.
You know who's the happiest here is Andy Barr. Because either of those two have run and lost numerous times, and that's who I'd want to run.
Well, they ran against Mitch McConnell.
Let me go.
No, McGrath first ran against Andy Barr in a Democrat seat, and she was ahead, and he beat her.
We are looking here
Democrats,
at these boards.
Kentucky.
We've got Steve Kornacki, who's going to talk us through how Booker did it here. And again, an uphill battle in this particular state. Live look here in this particular state against Andy Barr, Steve. But walk us through some of the numbers as the vote count has come in.
Yeah, I think we were saying when we checked in on this before that it was going to come down here to Fayette County, where Lexington is. And wow, did Lexington deliver for Booker here, clobbering Amy McGrath. And if you remember Amy McGrath in the race that kind of made her a national name back in 2018, it was a congressional district that was based in Fayette County in the Lexington area. But she gets absolutely crushed there tonight. Booker opens up that big advantage statewide. Will win double digits, it looks like, or close to it in this primary. But again, the context for it, this state in the presidential election, to remind you, was Donald Trump by 31 points here. Right, so that's the scale of the challenge for Booker. You know, or even in a great Democratic year, if it emerges as that, that's quite a hill to climb in a state like that. Just while I have you, I give you a quick update here. We got more vote out of Pennsylvania 3.
Amen.
In fact,
Amen, Corey.
literally, this happened as
It's true.
This just happened as
Drip, drip, drip.
Whoa.
as I was showing, this is in the
Another
last 30
surprise.
seconds what you're looking at. This is now, wow.
I need to get
So,
sponsors for this
Chris
show.
What's going
Rabb,
on here?
again, who calls
Someone
himself
just told me that.
Democratic
I need
Socialist,
sponsors.
has moved into the lead here. Ayla Stanford has fallen a second. Remember, she had been at 40% in the vote by mail, and Sharif Street is sitting there just at about 30%. That's 38% of the vote now that's counted. I'm going to go look here more at a precinct level what is driving this here, because we're seeing big splits between how different demographic types of precincts are voting here. But the one consistent thing now is this is 3 updates of Election Day vote. And this is the 3rd update that has brought Stanford's number down. So we said that question, would the Election Day vote look different for her than the vote by mail? And the answer seems very clearly to be yes here, because we've now had 3 substantial updates with Election Day vote, and her share has dropped from 40 to 33%. She's fallen from 1st to 2nd place. And again, she had that super PAC that was backing her, that put a lot of money onto the airwaves for her, but that stopped in the closing weeks.
They haven't even
of this
got to the West
campaign,
Coast yet, you guys.
And you're seeing a big split between mail and election
They haven't
day.
got to the West Coast. And it's
Super
almost-
interesting, Steve. Let me,
What was that,
if
sir?
I may, turn to my dear friend and colleague, Kristen
Yes.
Volker, because what's so interesting about this race, and I know it's one that you've had your eye
Yeah.
on, Chris Rabb, Steve has laid out the dynamics there. Sharif Street, are you surprised to see somebody like Sharif Street
Yes.
with the endorsements that he's racked up sitting there where he is at this moment?
And you have to understand, in Philadelphia, in this district, the name street is politically significant.
big.
That's part of the shift that we're talking about, Garrett, where all of a sudden this name that so many of us grew up with, the street name in Philadelphia politics, the fact that he's gotten some big endorsements in addition to being the son of John Street, and yet here he is in 3rd place. We have not called the race, but again, it's this battle for the soul of the Democratic Party. And here you have right now the progressive candidate sitting at the top of the heap, endorsed by AOC, endorsed by other progressive groups. So it's a significant moment. I'm sure some Republicans will say this would make Democrats more vulnerable in a general election. Obviously, this is going to be
No, this is a safe
No. I don't mean
It
this
is a safe
district. I
seat,
mean the
but-
message.
Look, I would
But
think a couple different things.
It's notable that the progressives.
It's a change in the Democrats. Okay. They may be tired. I don't know what type of candidate he is. He may rest on his laurel. I'm a street. I think I'm just going to win and not work hard.
Mhm.
Intensity matters. The quality of the candidate matters. But
What's
I'd
up,
always
Angry?
give the progressive the advantage in a district that's highly Democratic. Because
Mm.
it's going to reflect
look,
more where the party
And
stands.
what I would love to see here is who is voting.
Yes.
Is this a younger crowd? Is this an older crowd? Who's actually voting? But I do believe, and we talked earlier about the established candidate or the establishment, the influence.
Yeah.
I think that's a different Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I think people are
That's what's
voting
interesting.
now on how am I
Truth.
personally
Yeah.
doing today
Yeah.
with my life. And this reflects that.
Dynasties come and go. Ask the Bushes. I mean,
Right, right,
dynasties
right.
don't last
Yes,
forever in
they
politics.
do.
But also, let's be clear: there's like 3,000 votes separating 1st and 3rd place in this race right now. So there's a lot of time left before we know exactly.
Yeah, no, it's a very important.
Well, I will just say my phone is blowing up with PA folks. You know what I mean? Who I think are interested in this conversation about is there such thing as a machine anymore? What does that look like? And what are people, to your point, the point that you're making here, how has this, I don't want to get
How did anyone get anything?
whatever, but like
Our primaries, they're just fighting our own so far. Nobody has got anything more than the
but
chance
what
to
does
get it.
that look like right now?
Just
Like,
vote.
What are
Just
what are the
vote.
voter trends that are solidifying in this sort of new post-current Trump era?
I don't know if there's a machine anymore. I do
Amen,
believe, because
Tammy.
we've seen people with the most money lose elections.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't make a difference at all.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen candidates who we thought had it sewn up because of their last name.
Yeah.
They're at the bottom of the list. I think people are just, they're not necessarily following the crowd.
We have an
anymore
hour and
of the
15 minutes, so they
blueprint.
must close at.
They're
Oh, they
voting
close at
for the person
8
who they feel
on the West
hears
Coast. I
them
figured it was like
and will better address their issues.
Okay.
And it's reflected here.
I think there's old machines. They might not be an effective machine. Think about when AOC came in. She beat Crowley, who was the number 3 Democrat, who controlled the party, everything. But they rest on their laurels.
Yeah, he got
And
confidence.
it's the intensity level, right, of the candidates themselves. And if AOC comes into a Democratic primary and there's more than 2 candidates running, there's going to be a little advantage because money follows and organization comes.
I think we should bring Matt and Ashley into this conversation because I'm curious to see
Oh,
what they
Angry,
have
it's
to
so
say.
true.
Ashley,
It's
as
so
you're watching
true.
along with us.
They're like, don't forget we're over here.
And listen, we're
That's
having
speaking
a
of the Yankees
snack,
game, you know,
Ashley,
It's true.
no,
It's so true.
But Ashley, it's so fascinating because
So
I
true.
mean, you have the speaker's point that, look, this is a heavily Democratic district, so it's
Oh
not a
my
big surprise that
goodness.
a progressive candidate could win in this district. At the same time, it is notable, and it is the debate that's playing out in the Democratic Party right now. Can progressive candidates be viable in larger elections, statewide elections, in general elections?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But I think the issue that's probably looming large in this particular race is emblematic of a larger struggle that we're seeing happening within the Democratic Party around Israel and the war in Gaza. You had Street, who is very nuanced, did not lean in. Rabb, on the other hand, actually did lean in. He leaned in so far as to say we should not be funding Israel. He called it a genocide. He even called Netanyahu a war criminal. And when you think about Philly itself, you know, it's a place with a huge Muslim population. It's generationally young, generationally young with a lot of universities, and it's very progressive. So I think that issue is really at play. And as we've talked about on Meet the Press in the past, you know, there's an NBC poll that shows that 57%
So this
of
is like
Democrats
is this like a
do not
balanced,
support Israel.
unbiased?
This is a larger issue, and we know also too that it was a factor in
Her hair's
Kamala
short.
Harris's loss in the presidential election. So this is a larger issue that the party has not grappled with yet. It's positioned on, and it's playing out all over the country in these primaries.
They won't
Matt, what do
discuss
you
our
think
state.
when you look
They
at
will
this
not
race
discuss
unfold? We have
Oregon.
not called
A
anything.
little bit.
Right. Certainly, we
Once they
spent a
get
lot
to
of
it,
time
but
talking about this broader debate.
there's nothing to
inside
discuss.
The Democratic Party, as Ashley's saying, this fight over the Middle East, but also can
We have our
progressive
own
candidates
world. We have our
be
own. We have our own
viable
universe
in
in
some
Oregon,
of these
guys.
bigger races. Again, I'm not.
Seattle
this is
and
a
Oregon are
blue
never
district.
talked
I'm
about
not
in
talking about this district
a race.
specifically, but this message, I think, is worth exploring.
Well, look, ask Janet Mills. She's sitting at home right now. She no longer has a campaign. She's still the governor of Maine right now, and she lost to a oysterman or alleged oysterman who's pretty rich up in Maine, Graham Plattner, right? And he's going to take on Susan Collins in probably one of the most watched Senate races in the country. But, you know, we've been talking a lot about Georgia, and if you'd asked me about a year ago, I would have said, you know, I think all things being equal, that's the best Republican pickup opportunity in the country. I no longer think that because I think Michigan, and this is an area where you're seeing a brutal Democratic primary.
Like short hair on women.
And
Loves
one of them,
short
to
hair on
Ashley's
women.
point, is making Israel an issue. And yet Mike Rogers, who on our side, rare, we don't have a primary, Mike Rogers won narrowly short in 2024 and is beating all 3 Democratic candidates in head-to-head general elections. So that's something I'm watching. That's a real-life stress test, to your point, on whether or not the far-left candidate, Al Sayed, can beat somebody who's Haley Stevens, a sitting congresswoman, and Mallory McMorrow, who is a darling of the Democratic establishment.
Drove ad rates up even more, and that it was probably hard to, you tuned out the ads. So I think that probably hurt Buddy Carter in this race as well.
Although Kirk Beto in
Georgia,
a
Mike Collins,
runoff,
huh?
we're talking about a lot of ads here in a short amount of time. So Peach State voters should be prepared for their TVs to be inundated yet again.
We need to get out and vote and talk about
Absolutely,
this.
I think the 3 of us should have really just gone in on a TV station in the Savannah
They're
media
making a lot
market.
of money.
Oh,
We would've made a
man.
killing here.
Or
No one
Northern
talks about
Kentucky,
Oregon,
too,
guys.
or maybe somewhere
So
right on
true.
the border
Only
with
time
South
we
Carolina,
hear.
so we can get some of that as well. But what we're
The only time people talk about Oregon angry is when there's drama.
and this is not going to end.
It's the only
after
time people care about
Kansas
Oregon.
runoff. That's when the
Oh
general election
man,
gonna
is
start.
when there's
John
riots
Ossoff's
and
sitting
drama.
at $32.5 million
So good.
here that he is going to start flooding the airways with.
That's the
The
only
big
time.
major
Other than that,
Democrats,
it's the
both
forgotten
parties
lost
have
city.
already reserved about
State.
$20 million on the Democratic side.
It's cold
I
up
believe
there. It's
somewhere in
rain.
the $30 million range for Republicans. This is going to be wall to wall from now till
Oh
November.
man, it's so
just
so
the
spot on.
television
I know,
ad
but
revenue? How
they'll
much?
okay. So they will talk about Oregon, but they're not
$10
gonna.
billion spent
It's not a
on
big
$100
deal.
million.
Like all these
Look at
other
that.
places are
Will
big
its
deals.
campaign these days push towards
Oregon.
television ads.
Let's just be
and
honest.
towards
Oregon is not
web ads,
Florida. It's
pushing
not
ads to your phone.
Pennsylvania.
That's a great question. We have seen
It's not
a growing
Ohio.
percentage of
It's
total
not
ad
Cali.
spend
It's not
are those
Texas.
digital ads, that digital outreach you're talking
Right?
about.
So
really
it's not
targeted
Chicago.
stuff, especially it's streaming
It's
is
not
a
a
big
swing
one,
state.
especially as more people cut the cord. But because
Am I right or am I right, Angry? Am I right?
That's what keeps it a bigger piece of the pie. But when you're looking at per unit of ad spending,
That's the only thing
digital
Oregon's
is
known
slowly
for
but
is right
surely
there.
creeping up,
Oregon Trail
especially, as
game.
Jessica said, as more people are cutting the cord going to Hulu or YouTube, they're putting their ads on there.
It's the only thing Oregon's known for.
A lot of those are younger voters.
We got a
and they
staple right
are
there.
Lower propensity voters.
True
It's
enough, we
older
don't get to
voters that
6
are
o'clock.
Higher propensity in many instances. I heard a candidate say the other day,
Almost
"Tell me who
You spit.
whose
A
ads you
reality
see when you
TV
were
show
watching
airs at
Wheel
8
of Fortune,"
p.m.
and that is who is ahead. So that is prime.
We had the caller
Oh,
from I think it was
goodness.
Alabama saying she was
And
disappointed
we're
that
late.
there weren't young people.
We're like
out
retarded.
for
We're just
polls,
back
that
in
she
time,
thought
bro. Like,
that there should be more young
you guys
people out.
retarded. Just
I
Oregon's
think
was
everyone
forgotten.
should turn out if you are able to. Our rights.
I
were
didn't know
fought,
Oregon was still a thing.
especially if you're a woman or minority, to
not.
get you your right
It's
to
like
vote.
3
I think that
states
everyone
up
should
north
turn out to vote.
that mean
in every
absolutely
election.
nothing.
So
Oregon,
Less than 10
Washington, and
minutes
Idaho.
in this primary night, just with us here on C-SPAN.
Oh,
Though afterwards,
goodness.
we're going to be taking viewers in about 10 minutes to a replay of Thomas Massey's concession speech.
Oh, we
It's
can
about
hear his
20
concession.
minutes long. We'll let you see it in its entirety. We watched about the first half of it here live.
The whole thing.
This is for Simply.
Well,
So
you're gonna be
she
staying
got
here because
you
you're
got
on
your
the show
tissue,
tomorrow morning on
Simply.
the Washington Journal. But time for a few more of your calls. Definitely want to get to them. Phone lines. For
You got your
Democrats,
tissue. They're going to
Republicans,
play the
Independents.
whole
And if you
Thomas
voted
Massey.
today in the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, Nancy.
See,
is
Keystone.
in
We're not even
Westchester,
angry.
Democrat.
Listen, bro,
Nancy,
you heard
your
what he just said. The
thoughts
Keystone
on
States.
primary day in
We're not
Pennsylvania?
even a Keystone State.
Okay, yeah. Well, what I found when I stood up at the polls for the whole time was that the Democratic turnout was much higher than
People
the
think it's feeling
Republican
bad for you,
turnout.
Simply.
And it made me feel that the Democrats were more engaged and wanted to vote more than the Republicans did.
Oh,
Now, this is
surprised me.
Southeast Pennsylvania, so it might not reflect all of Pennsylvania. I don't know. But it's something that I would like you to look at. Was Republican vote depressed in Pennsylvania? Thanks.
And Jessica Taylor, how much could it have been a function of a Josh Shapiro headlining a ballot for Democrats and Democrats wanting to come out and show their support for him and having that Keystone name?
Yeah, that very well could have been. I
You
mean,
can't
I
give
think
it- we
that
can't even be a
you were
Keystone.
probably only coming out if you were a diehard voter and you were in a targeted congressional district. It oftentimes depends on what local races or what congressional races are getting you out. But
I love
because
everyone to
that
be
top of the
happy.
ticket, there's no Senate race this cycle. That top of the ticket was not competitive. Fewer people probably coming out.
That's exactly right. And the Westchester, PA is also in the Pennsylvania 6th district, not all of it, but most of it. That's one that is held by Chrissy Houlihan. It's on the edge of the battlefield and a more Republican leaning year, but there's not a whole lot of competition in there right now. So there might
Hands
be
from
a little more
Washington.
depressed turnout on both sides there.
Back to the Peach State. Michelle is waiting.
Oh, my
Independent line. Michelle, what did you see today at the polls?
Hey there. I just wanted to, well, it was actually quite busy. It flowed really well, and there was actually a mix. But as someone who has knocked doors, made phone calls, raised money, been very politically active, and a mother of a millennial and Gen Zers, I can tell
Richard.
you they're ticked off. They are disgusted with the money in politics. And even with my own children, I've had to force them out the door to go vote.
Michelle, what do you think is going to happen here in this very high-profile Senate race and gubernatorial race in Georgia?
I think that Keisha Lance Bottoms she's going to have a really rough time. I think in winning the governor's position, because Kemp was extremely popular here.
So Pennsylvania's only 50% in, you
I have
guys.
to say that some of the ads
47,
I was really
40%
disappointed with on the
for
Republican side as well,
Chris
because some of them
Rabb,
started out okay with integrity
28%
and like Raffensperger,
for
for example,
Stanford.
and then they ended up just all about immigration. Buddy Carter's was terrible. We're
You
going to
guys
lock
need to
you
stop
up
because I was
if
already
you're
looking at
this,
stuff.
this, or this, and basically
Stop.
any color other than white. It was disappointing. I don't like to see that kind of behavior. I wish that integrity would return. I think Kemp acted with integrity, but I know that Keisha of Lance Bottoms is not.
Pratt is
loved
next month.
by
He's
everyone.
in LA
I think
for
she's
you.
going to have a
Nico.
rough go, my opinion.
And Michelle, before you go, you're an independent in Georgia, in a state with a high-profile Senate and gubernatorial race. So do you mind saying if the election were today, who you'd vote for in each one of those races?
I would definitely vote for Ossoff for sure. And
then for governor?
And for governor, it's really tough. It would probably be between Dooley and I'm not a huge fan of Keisha either, but these others are just too hateful, and I'm tired of seeing all that.
Look, Pratt
Well,
don't
you got
even
about
have to do nothing to the
167
ladies
days until the general
except
election,
just
so
show
plenty of
himself on
time for that
TV and
decision.
they
Thanks
fall
for
in
the
love
call
with him.
From Georgia, just
He don't even have to
about 4 minutes
chase no.
left here. Akiva's been waiting a while in Clifton, New Jersey, Republican. Akiva, thank
Pratt
you.
don't even have to chase no one. He don't even have to. He don't even have to ask
gentlemen.
for
Good
nothing,
evening.
and they're falling at his
Kirk,
feet.
I have a question for you.
He don't even have to ask for nothing.
Kirk, I just wanted to first have two questions for you.
Look
Only
at her.
two,
Look.
and that is that Georgia has a Senate race.
Look at
What do you think of my prediction that John Ossoff will go down to defeat in November? Because I truly think that it's a very Republican state. I mean, voted for Robert Dole, John McCain, Mitt Romney, George W. Bush, and Trump two out of 3 times. Do you think John Ossoff will get defeated in November? And second, two questions. Do you think Mike Rogers
did the dog
in Michigan,
rescue
which will
guaranteed?
happen, the primary will happen in August.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Well,
think that
that's
Michigan
not
will
chasing.
elect a Republican senator? Because I certainly believe that.
That's Akiva.
Well, I'll answer real quick, and then I want to turn to the expert Jessica Taylor here. I think John Ossoff is in the driver's seat right now in Georgia. No matter who comes through
He did the
this,
dog rescue
obviously there are going
thing.
to be a few candidates
Guaranteed to work. Okay, so just go rescue a dog. All right.
Baggage in
Probably
terms
not gonna
of
happen.
past voting record than Mike Collins if Dooley's the one in the runoff here. But Ossoff is going to start out probably
Since the
as
hills,
the
huh?
favorite. In Michigan, Mike Rogers is going to sail through the primary there. Democrats have a tough 3-way race there, and it's really bruising in there. But I still think in a Democratic year, Democrats are going to have the edge in Michigan, even if Mike Rogers is content to just raise money and start pivoting toward his general election campaign. But I'd be curious to see what Jessica Taylor has to say.
The caller ticked through Georgia's very Republican history, but the state has changed since then. You have a lot of new people, a lot of college-educated voters, a lot of very diverse voters moving in. So that state has changed. And that, while Trump won it again in 2024, it was only by about 2 points. Michigan, I do agree, could really be a problem for Republicans. I mean, for Democrats, excuse me. I think that if someone like Abdul Al-Sayed, who is the more progressive candidate endorsed by Bernie Sanders, wins, Democrats are very much starting to worry. You're starting to see a lot of big names like former Senator Debbie Stabenow, Jennifer Granholm, former governor, just came out behind Haley Stevens, who's the establishment favorite, but she's sort of not lighting the base on fire. But I agree with Kirk, though. I do think in a very Democratic year, Michigan is hard. They have not, that seat has not been held by a Republican since 1994.
Final 90 seconds or so. Kirk Beto, start here. Biggest takeaway from tonight, biggest surprise?
My biggest takeaway is that Trump is now he has a perfect record now in these endorsement fights that he has. He's really consolidating the party around him. My biggest surprise, I think I don't really have a big surprise here because we're still waiting on those results from Georgia. Georgia is one that I'm going to be watching pretty closely here. We might be on track for some sort of surprise in the Alabama governor's race, maybe if Barrymore clears it, but it's still very early in the night here.
I mean, we still don't, as Kirk said, we still don't know the final result in Georgia, but I'm a little surprised that Rick Jackson is currently in second.
Angry. Can I be a friend? Avoid it. Avoid her. Stop being hooked. She's old, bro. She's old.
Returns, and maybe we could see that with Tom Steyer.
She might be a cougar, but she's old, bro. She's old, bro. Like, let her.
Editor at the Cook Political Report. It's Cook
Kick the bucket. Something. Let it go. You're helping her out. You're giving her money, bro. If you want to give her money, go ahead. Give her money.
You can see a lot.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
Morning on the Washington Journal, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific.
Don't say I didn't warn
you.
you.
For joining us.
You're giving her money, bro.
Night. Let's do it again down the road.
Sounds good.
Great. Can't wait.
And we take our viewers
that
now to Thomas Massey's session speech.
Thomas Massey.
Watching.
Are you sure, Simply, you want to hear this? Simply, do you want to hear this? Let me know.
We'll air it.
I'll avoid it if you want me to.
Here on C-SPAN.
I know it's a sensitive subject.
Up next, remarks by Kentucky GOP Congressman Tom.
Are you sure, Simply? Yeah, you make money. You make money on algorithm, bro. Algorithms. Well, listen. Okay, algorithms. It brings people to her page, right? Brings people to her page, algorithms, so whatever she posts, people like or not dislike. It brings people attention.
Listen, I would have come out sooner.
Why is it quiet? I can't turn it up more.
And it took a while to find Ed Galrine in Tel Aviv.
Does this guy dye his mustache? I don't know. I wouldn't dye my mustache.
I did get the call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way. You know, welcome to the most expensive congressional primary ever in the 250-year history of this country. It's not just the most expensive. This thing went on longer than Vietnam. It started 9 months ago, and they didn't even have a candidate, and they decided they want to take me out. I want to start by thanking the volunteers who have put so much effort into this. Some of you came from all across the country. Some of you are homegrown. I love all of you. All right, hold on. All right. I see how this is going to work. I'm going to have to not quit talking or you'll start doing it. I want to thank my staff too. Some of my staff have been with me from the very first race in 2012, and they have done so much. We've never had, contrary to all the BS you've heard, we've never had a single ethics complaint filed against me or my staff in 14 years. I want to thank the donors. Now listen, I'd name them all, but there's 50,000 donors, okay? We didn't lose this race because we didn't have enough money. You know, it is the most expensive race ever. I think when they add it up, right now they can count 35 million. I think when they add it up, it's going to be a lot more than that, because on our side, we know we spent more than 15 million. And we were able to go toe to toe. There was never a week that we got outspent more than 2-1 in this entire race once it got underway. And that's also, it wasn't just the grassroots donors. We had a long time, one of my longest friends, he went through a rough spell, and I never left him. I always supported him. And he actually started the Super PAC, the one that nobody knows who runs it, Cliff Maloney. If you're around, would you come up here? Maybe I can get him out here to take some credit. Or if he's in the crowd, just pick him up and surf him over here. Cliff. I see, by the way, I see one of my online influencer heroes, Bobby Sauce, over here. There were a lot of surreal moments in this race, and frankly, in being in Congress. But being in a side-by-side racing through the woods with Bobby Sauce was definitely on my. It wasn't even on my bucket list. It was amazing. And getting to that point,
good.
I want to thank the influencers who came all this way and produced all the videos and got out the young vote. I want to thank my family. That's who we have arrayed back here. My grandbabies, all three of them. She's clapping too. It's a little bit overwhelming for them, but they are what recharges my batteries when I come back from Washington, D.C. These grandbabies. And that's what we're fighting for, really, is the next generation and the next generation after that. But I have to especially thank my wife, Carolyn. Her parents knew what they were doing when they named her. Her middle name is Grace. And but she's a fighter. I mean, she's been tweeted at twice by the chief executive of the most powerful country in the world. She blames me for that because I didn't invite him to the wedding. But also, she voted this morning, and she came out and she said, well, that was a wild experience. That was great. I never imagined that would happen. And I said, what happened? She said, I got to vote for my husband and my favorite congressman. I said, that's practically a throuple. In all seriousness, walking out here and seeing all of you has really energized me. And it has all along. But why am I hopeful right now? Because if you looked at the crosstab in the polling, and I'm sure if we had exit polling, it would show the same thing. We have the younger demographic. We You are patriots, and you will inherit this country, and you will make it better. And I am hopeful because of that. Thank you. We accidentally, I think, didn't mean to do this. It started out as an election, and it turned into a movement. I mean, I think people, if you're not tired of politics, if you're not jaded, if you're not cynical, and so many people are, the people that want somebody that'll go along to get along. I've never heard of that strategy, but that seems to be what the voters want. That's what's been promised to them, but not the young voters. I mean, we stirred up something. There is a yearning in this country for somebody who will vote for principles over party.
We're bringing you live coverage of tonight's primary races. We're going to take you live now to Mike Collins, Republican in Georgia.
I started this campaign.
They're switching up. Why are they switching up?
With the mission, and that was to deliver Georgia a workhorse.
Sorry, simply
someone who has been in tough fights and come out on the top, and someone that has always put the people of Georgia first in everything they've done. And y'all, tonight we are one step closer. Now, every single day, week, and month of this campaign, we have had to prove the naysayers wrong.
Short recap.
I mean, the folks out there that have been saying that some congressman from right here in Butts County,
so the biggest one
barely finished his first term, could organize statewide, could build the coalition.
I see somebody repping NEP in here. So the biggest one is Massey loss. I know people in here are mad about that. I'm not going to mention no names. Georgia's still going at it.
Listen to me now.
Which state is this?
People talk about how much money
Collins.
John
Who's
Ossoff
Collins?
has. Remind them of the
Georgia.
results tonight. That
So
the
they're still going
winning
at it.
campaign did the most with the least. We were outspent.
So Massey lost, which
15
is
to 1,
Kentucky.
outmatched. But I
So,
tell you what,
that's one of the big ones.
Outworked.
Oregon's not big. NEP is not representing NEP is
I'll
not
tell
representing.
you why I'm successful. You see, I took that experience of being in one of the most regulated and taxed industries out there to Washington, D.C., and I was able to get 2 pieces of legislation signed into law by 2 presidents
And
from 2
the
different
polls
parties
closed
in just 2 years.
in 45
The
minutes
Trank Act
for Oregon.
helps local law enforcement out there fight these deadly drugs that are killing our communities.
I agree.
And
Simply.
the Lake and Riley Act, which is named for a young nursing student that was murdered in my district by some illegal that Joe Biden and John Ossoff led into this country. And it just simply makes sure that these
I used to be a DJ. You can definitely get some circus music playing in the background. I don't have it. I don't have it.
Piece of
Like,
legislation that President Trump
connected.
signed when he returned to the White House. And in just 1 year, that Lake and Riley Act has been responsible for removing over 20,000 illegal criminals from our streets. And you see, those bills, they didn't just pass because I dropped them in the hopper, went and did a press conference and called it a day. I mean, I knew I could get Lake and Riley passed with just party line votes. But I also knew that I needed leverage in the Senate, so I went and got Democrats. I went door to door and made sure that piece of legislation was passed in a bipartisan fashion. I mean, y'all, I had Democrats tell me that, hey, I've never seen a Republican in here pushing their own bill. But I had others, like John Ossoff, who just sat there quietly while I explained to him how this was going to help our constituents to make sure that another Georgia life wasn't lost at the hands of some illegal alien out there. You see, that's the difference, y'all.
Alien.
That's the difference in someone being in the private sector, in a do or die business where if you mess around and make the wrong decision, then you go out of business. That's just something you don't see in Washington, D.C. Listen, I am so proud
I've told folks that black folks are not going to get involved in the illegal alien nonsense.
Border Patrol Council.
They ain't.
Turning Point Action, which was
They
founded
keep
by
trying.
Charlie
They
Kirk.
want to pull people in.
Yeah, that's
Black folks
working.
ain't caring about that.
Yeah. CPAC, Club for Growth, Newt Gingrich, over 200 local and state officials, and many of them are here with us tonight. You see, they're with me because they know that I deliver results. I know how to win. If I say I'm going to do something, I get it done. It's just that I don't operate like a typical politician. Because you see, if passing bipartisan legislation that helps Georgians was so easy, everybody'd be doing it. And the Senate would probably work a lot better as well. But y'all, how many times have you seen Republicans have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House and still struggle? And it's always because it's in the Senate that's the problem. You know, I'm just a businessman. So y'all, I look for the best deal that I can get out there. And if you're a conservative Republican and you want a conservative government,
your nose.
I'll tell you something. I got a deal for you. How about this? How about a 2-for-1? With me as the nominee, you're not just going to get to replace John Ossoff, but you're going to replace a Democrat with an
10:30. What do you mean
actual
as me as the nominee?
conservative who will fight.
Hold on.
And I mean fight.
Well, he's going forward. Is he going forward to like the main
You
thing?
see, our problem in Washington is that not that we don't have enough Republicans. It's just that we don't always have the right Republicans.
The right one.
That's right. But I'm going to tell you, any Republican is better than a Democrat. But just because you've
Trump's a
got an
Democrat.
R behind your name, it doesn't mean that you'll stand up and take the tough votes that put Americans first. I've not just promised to do that,
See, that's
but
why I
I
don't
have
like all this stuff.
delivered on it.
That's why I don't like it. You just throw an R or D, and that makes you no.
Yeah. Hey, campaign slogans are cheap. Those slick advertisements, they're expensive. But the right voting record, now that's priceless.
The right voting record. What does that even? What does that mean? The right voting record
for being America first. As a matter of fact, I am unapologetically pro-God, pro-Trump, pro-Second Amendment, pro-strong military. By gosh, peace through strength works.
Pro-Democrat.
If it's not good for Georgia and this country, I will never support
Trump is a Democrat, you guys. I don't know why people think that he's not. Trump is an old school Democrat.
We need to replace John Ossoff with someone who will put our state first, not California and New York.
Old school Democrats look like Republicans nowadays.
John Ossoff doesn't represent our state, our people, or our values. I mean, he's effectively California's third U.S. senator. I mean, in fact, John Ossoff is as Georgia as putting pistachios in a Pepsi. I mean, look, President Trump brought us back from the brink of where we were under Joe Biden and the Democrats like John Ossoff. Y'all, we need to take advantage of every opportunity to deliver a safer, a more productive, a more affordable America. But right now the holdup's in the U.S. Senate, and John Ossoff is blocking progress every opportunity he gets. I mean, he shut down the government to try to give illegals health care. I mean, men and women's sports. I mean, he supported open borders that allowed killers like Jose Ibarra come in. I mean, he's even opposed to the Save America Act, which most Americans out there support. It's just common sense. But John Ossoff, nah, he's against it. See, Georgians want bipartisan productivity and common sense. And that comes from being a small businessman who knows how to solve problems. They just want someone to go to Washington and fight for them, like nursing students in Athens, like young families who just want to buy a home, our veterans, or our farmers out there who've had some of the toughest times in decades due to a broken Washington. You know, just anyone who wants a smaller, more productive government. So yeah, I look forward to prosecuting the case against John Ossoff. His first term versus my first term. And here's what you're gonna see. Here's what you're gonna see on that stage in October when I'm up there. You're gonna see a successful small business owner who took the hard lessons he learned in the trucking industry, went to Washington, D.C., and delivered for the state of Georgia, versus a guy who's never had a real job in his life, someone who is out there is voted with those California crazies and those New York nut jobs to make your lives less safe, more expensive, and less free. Listen, John Ossoff's going to need every penny he's got to defend his record. And by the way, just to let you know, the bulk of his money has come from California and New York, those far left activists out there. So if you want to beat a tough incumbent, you better put up the toughest fighter. And I am the only candidate out there, y'all, the only candidate who has built a grassroots fundraising program with donations from every county in this state, all 50 states and territories. I'm the only candidate who's organized all 159 counties with over 800 convoy captains out there. You see, you don't win this state anymore by running the most TV ads. Sorry, cameras in the back. You don't. It takes real grassroots efforts and operations. Y'all, either the other candidates didn't care enough to do it, or either they just didn't inspire volunteers enough to sign up. But either way, doesn't matter. If that is just a recipe for disaster in November, if you put up some milquetoast nominee like that. Listen, we're not here tonight because I've been propped up by somebody else, or because I've spent the most money in this thing. No, we're here because we work hard. We've got the best organization, the best voting record, and the best message, and that's what it's going to take to be John Ossoff.
I like cheeseburgers. Give me a burger. Burger or fish.
Everybody knows that I do best with the MAGA base. It's because they know I've always been with President Trump. Even when it wasn't popular, I was still out there on the trail fighting. But what you may not know is that, y'all, I polled best against John Ossoff in a head-to-head matchup. And I performed best with suburban voters and women. And why is that? I mean, is it because I got the best hair in the race? I don't know, maybe. No, it's because voters are resonating with the fact that I hadn't spent a career in politics, y'all. I'm just a businessman who gets results. And when tragedy struck in Georgia, I was willing to put politics to the side and do what was right. And John Ossoff, he wouldn't do that. That's the voters that you got to persuade if you're going to be successful in November. That's why I'm the only candidate out there that is either tied or within the margin of error with John Ossoff in every general election poll. So what's our path to victory?
Five Guys. Five Guys is bomb.
Same as what it was for Governor Kemp and President Trump. You turn out the low propensity voters, Trump voters, and you have a message for the Atlanta suburbs. Because you see, the suburban and independent voters, they just want results. They want somebody to go to Washington to deliver for them. And I have delivered. You don't beat John Ossoff with no record. You win by having a record of results. And thank you. You see, I've shown that you can go to Washington and put Georgians first. You don't have to listen to your toners in California and New York. John Ossoff, he can't say that. You can pass bipartisan legislation that makes the lives of Georgians safer and more secure. And never sacrifice your values to do it. When I signed up for this, you know, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it'd be tough to run against an incumbent U.S. senator. What I didn't know is that I was going to have to face an incumbent governor in the primary first. But listen, looking at the result tonight, it shows that nominees are not picked on West Paces Ferry. And in November, we're going to show that Georgia's senators are not picked by California and New York donors. You know how they're picked? They're picked by Georgians who want and reward candidates who are authentic, who mean what they say, who do what they promise. And just like what I've done in Congress in a bipartisan way, and all the while I've still held true to those conservative values. The secret to my success, y'all, it's just that I learned the hard lessons from the real world. You know, when to compromise, you know, when not to budge, how to get the best deal out there so that I keep families fed and employees employed, just to stay in business. Because I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I swear, y'all, I felt like that the federal government's #1 job was to put me out of business. And that's the perspective that I took with me, and with every vote that I take. That's exactly what you need more of in the U.S. Senate.
Rab is
and that's
projected
exactly
to win
what you'll get with
Pennsylvania.
me in the U.S. Senate.
He has an earring in his right ear, guys.
You want to defeat John Ossoff and also put a real conservative fighter in the Senate?
That's who's projected to win, Rab. He has an earring in his ear, which I guess is
I need
okay.
your help.
So
I need your help.
he has an earring in his right ear, a stud.
Help me get to the U.S. Senate, and I promise this old trucker will deliver.
He has a stud
Thank
in
you
his,
for your time. Thank
he has
you
a
for
stud
being
in his
here.
right ear. Just one stud. What is this? What's going on? Oh, he's walking on stage. Okay.
Because Steve, we've been talking about this tonight. You've been kind of pointing out like
He has
there's
a
a
stud in
real
his right
ground to
ear.
make up for these other
They just
candidates.
cut
And now
off
here
of
we
it.
have this projection for Rab.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been an overwhelming performance by Rab on election day. The folks who went and turned out
Rab,
at the
right
polls
there.
today,
He's
you could just
winning,
see
projected to win.
you know, he's now built nearly a 20,000 vote lead. With more to come. He's basically winning half of the election day vote. Stanford, who had done so well in the vote by mail, the
I know
floor
he
just
was going
absolutely
against
fell out
Massey?
for her in the
No?
election day.
I don't know.
In that election day vote.
I know.
You know, again, we talk about the
you
diversity of
mean?
his district. I
Did
mentioned
know
this
it was going against
before.
Massey?
Slightly larger black population than white population, Both are substantial, and Rab's message seems to be resonating particularly in the majority white precincts. That's where, where he has really turned it on with this election day vote has been in majority white precincts, where again he's getting upwards of 3.
You guys, I got
quarters
donation
of the
links
vote
pinned on
in
Facebook
the
and
election
YouTube,
day
you guys.
vote in those precincts here. He's not even winning in the majority.
Yes, I got them
black
pinned on
precincts,
YouTube and Facebook.
either
I haven't even
overall
said it.
or with the
I
election day
usually
vote.
try not to say it, but
Sharif
anyway,
Street's
pinned
winning
on
the
Facebook and
majority black
YouTube. If you guys
precincts
like to
here.
help out,
In
donate for
fact, right
anything,
now, Rab is running in
potential
third place
future.
overall in majority black precincts.
I hate to say trips, because they're not really trips.
So he's really gotten it from the majority white precincts.
But missions
missions
to get places, to do things, live streams, or bring you guys news, breaking news, whatever it is. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, buy me a coffee. Everything is the BC Preacher. Super chats are always open. With super chats, it takes a while for it to come because it's only once a month.
Well, Steve, just
With
so
the links,
dramatic to watch.
it comes
the way
right
in
away.
which he surged to
So
the top
just want to let you guys know, in
throughout
case
the
you wanted to do
course of the
anything.
night as the same day vote
It does
has
help,
come
and
in, and it's
up
also
to you guys
fascinating
if
to
I
hear
get to
Steve
these
with the
places
breakdown.
to stream
that
stuff.
he's winning majority white districts, and
White
the
districts. We're
implications
talking
of
about white
that he's
districts.
clearly reached a broader audience.
I mean, it is maybe indicative in this particular district when you look at some of the precinct results that come in. I still think the question is this, can I make up a word? Extrapolatable. Somebody's gonna get at me and email me about whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You know why it's more extrapolatable if where we're going with that?
Sure.
Than I think in past years is because of what redistricting is doing to them all over the country.
Yeah, that's a great.
We're creating districts, both red and blue, that are redder and bluer. And so that means if you want to win in districts like this, you've got to become even more pure in terms of the electorate that you're reaching out to. And you're far less concerned about winning a general election because the battlefield is really in the primary election. And what that leads to is people that are more blue and more red coming to Congress, and it's just harder to get stuff done.
Let's keep sticking with Democrats here. We've got a projection to make an interesting one. This is in Georgia in the primary, Democratic primary for governor. The projected winner,
of course,
Keisha
Georgia would do that.
Lansbottoms.
Of
And
course.
here's what's interesting. This is not a runoff, folks. This is a 50+1 state handily defeating her opponents in this race, including Jeff Duncan there. We had spoken with Mike Thurmond earlier in the program, 100 hours ago now, it seems like, who had felt, I think, confident about where he was, but obviously it is Keisha Lansbottoms who will move on in a race against either Trump-backed Burt Jones, Rick Jackson, who spent a ton of money in the state of Georgia. Very interesting here, given the makeup of this race and the makeup of this state, too, which hasn't had a Democratic governor in almost 30 years.
To clear the 50% threshold.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
With that many candidates.
But that was the question. If there was suspense, there was some suspense, obviously, around this race generally, but also runoff or not. I think that was in many ways the question here.
But I think it's significant because she's obviously the former mayor of Atlanta.
That's right.
So
That's right.
there was a sense that she was going to do
name
well. She was the
recognition.
front runner. I interviewed former Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, who switched parties, by the way, from Republican to Democrat. As you and I have been talking about, the Trump factor has hung over this race because that's part of why he switched parties. And he was confident he was going to a runoff. And yet in these closing days, his path looked increasingly challenging. Let's go to Steve Kornacki. Steve, can you break down a little bit of how Keisha Lansbottoms won outright tonight?
Well, I mean, it was overwhelming is the short answer. Let me just get the Democratic primary called up here. Where did I press? There it is.
You got it. We're there.
It's a pretty simple story when the shade of blue we've assigned to Keisha Lansbottoms is the shade of blue in every single county that's reported tonight. I think you're talking about it. The suspense that was coming into this was there was some chatter that there was some concern among Democrats that Bottoms, given her record as mayor of Atlanta, role with the Biden administration, might be a vulnerable candidate in the general election to Republican attacks. And if that was going to be something that took hold with Democrats, it would be in a runoff campaign when there'd be a one-on-one matchup with Bottoms and somebody else who could raise electability and see if that's something that Democrats were concerned about. But when Bottoms easily breaks 50%, there's not going to be a runoff. Those concerns clearly weren't deep enough on the Democratic side to prohibit her from getting through tonight. And it's just an overwhelming top-to-bottom victory here for Bottoms in this primary tonight. Not much to say about look. She's the former mayor of Atlanta, and she's done this without a single vote from Atlanta.
Wow.
Wow. Well, so this is so interesting, Steve, because I will tell you that there are those in her orbit who do feel like, and this is how one source close to her put it to me, that she, in a general, can really appeal to some of those suburban swing voters, as we know in Metro Atlanta, because of what she has done in the city. They see, her record maybe is standing on its own against somebody like a Jones or a Jackson, even in what's going to be a sort of an interesting, competitive, potentially gubernatorial race.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the governor's race will be competitive. The Senate race, obviously, we already know is going to be extremely competitive here. We also know that Democrats in Georgia, in their statewide success, Joe Biden was able to narrowly carry the race in 2020. Democrats won those Senate runoffs in 2021, and Raphael Warnock was able to get elected to a full term in 2022. Democrats in their successes in Georgia statewide have had black candidates on the ballot statewide. When Joe Biden won that in 2020, that was, Warnock was on that ballot. He made the runoff from that election. Warnock got himself elected in 2022 outright, over Herschel Walker. So Democrats, and we've seen an interesting dynamic tonight too, by the way. This is a bit of an obscure point, but in these state Supreme Court races that we're getting some attention here, where the Democrats put two candidates up. One of those candidates was white, one of those candidates was black. The African-American candidate is running far better tonight in those court races than the white candidate is. There are some gaps in these counties that we're seeing of 30, 40 points between those candidates. So, this will be, just by nature of Georgia, it's a competitive state now in every presidential election. The increasing Democrat, we've seen this now trend now over the last decade or so in this Atlanta metro area. The Democrats have been doing, they didn't do quite as well as they were wanted in 2024, but overall there's a very pronounced Democratic trend in the Atlanta suburbs here. The Democrats are thinking one of these years is going to tip the state more from sort of swing, a little bit more Republican friendly, into a little bit more Democratic friendly. There are Democrats who talk about Georgia as a state that long term could be on a political and demographic trajectory, at least they hope, is similar to Virginia. We used to think 20 years ago of Virginia as a red state. The demographics changed, the population.
I got some breaking news, you guys.
Washington, D.C. metro area.
So the breaking news is shocking evidence emerging that Israel, shocking evidence emerging that Israel was planning to help install former Iranian President Mohammed something following the elimination of Supreme Leader, their Supreme Leader after initial strike. So Israel was planning on helping install a former Iranian president. That's interesting. The Ayatollah.
Interesting dynamic at play in the state, not just in the governor's race, as Steve was talking about, but in the Senate race as well, Ashley.
No, I mean, I think she's
Shocking evidence.
well tonight that she's going to be able to
helping.
all over the country.
Helping.
To your point, the Republicans
Israel was planning to help install former Iranian president following the elimination of Supreme Leader Ayatollah after the initial strikes.
What is her ground operation like in Georgia, across the state? We know Stacey Abrams built an incredible army.
Yes, installed back into Iran.
Over time, that sort of diminished. It's not as strong as it used to be. So that's going to be the question now. I think she's going to be able to raise money because she's proven tonight that she's a formidable candidate. But the question is whether or not the ground operation is solid enough for her to win.
Matt, who do you think would be the strongest candidate to take her on the Republican side, given what we saw tonight?
I think it depends. I mean, look at Rick Jackson, entered the race when Burt Jones was already endorsed by Donald Trump, spent $70 million, has a name idea of his own. And I thought he was going to come out a little bit more ahead than he has. But Burt Jones already has a Trump apparatus behind him. We'll see. I mean, I think it also depends on how the Senate race, how competitive that is, whether the Kemp machine gets behind Derek Dooley, if Dooley makes the runoff that's looking like it could, and how that affects the governor's race.
I think there's an expectation that Ossoff will probably outrun Keisha Lance Bottoms. He has more infrastructure there, having been in that role for longer. I think Republicans I talked to are a little bit more concerned about Ossoff as a statewide candidate than Keisha Lance Bottoms. But to your point, if he does open up a more significant lead, does she ride his coattails a little bit further? And they do complement each other. I mean, Ossoff benefited from this in the first race with he and Warnock both, having candidly a mixed race ticket. They're talking to different elements of the Democratic base. They're turning on different people who might, vote for them both.
You put $1 super chat. Who was also on the ballot in 2022 when Warnock won was Stacey Abrams, who did not win
Thank you.
against Brian Kemp.
God bless you.
That, at least in that
Thank you
state
very
4 years
much.
ago, that wasn't true. So we'll see.
What'll also be interesting to test here is whether the Joe Biden service works against her, right? Does she figure a Joe Biden penalty for her time in the Biden?
RGA was excited to run against her.
The African American vote is so important in Georgia.
African-American
It is the key to Democrats even having a shot in Georgia. Raphael Warnock has harnessed that vote better than any candidate ever has in Georgia. If they can, and John Ossoff has done a lot to reach out to the Black community. He often talks about his work with John Lewis. Make sure that they know that
We're talking in rural communities.
Right.
They're not the urban centers
No,
we're talking
exactly.
about. He mobilized, rural Black voters in a way that no one else had
And if
before.
you cannot take that voting block for granted if you have any shot of winning in Georgia as a Democrat.
Ashley, what do you think she would need to do in a general election in order to win?
I think she's going to, she's been incredibly focused on the cost of living. I know we've had a lot of conversations here tonight about what's the winning message. I'm getting messages from the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Committee, that basically said they told all their candidates focus on cost of living.
That's crazy.
Everything from, what Republicans have done with the big, beautiful bill to the tariff wars, cover it all. And she's going to be doing that. But I think the key for her is going to be, how does she expand her appeal to those independent voters, to disaffected Republicans? I think those are going to be the voters that are going to make the difference, is those disaffected Republican voters. And I think she's going to lean a little bit on her record as mayor. But more importantly, I think she's going to talk about, exactly what people are living through every day in their lives and their pocketbook issues.
On the other side of the aisle, what about the Kemp factor in this state?
Yeah.
Because he is somebody, we've talked about it, really popular governor among Republicans.
We're not even talking about Oregon
He's
yet. Not even yet.
Derek Dooley here in the
He
Senate.
put a lot of political capital.
I mean, he dozens of times. By the way, dozens of campaign stops.
Don't talk about people.
That's a list.
Why he
You know
didn't
what I
run
mean?
himself.
Well, if he's going to do it, he's going to get out there and pound the pavement. So that's part of this too.
Absolutely, texture the hit. And you want to talk about somebody who had Trump's influence. It wasn't that long ago that Kemp had a primary. Trump picked out David Perdue, a former senator, and Kemp crushed him. Crushed him. And so he's been at the hip with Dooley, going essentially everywhere that Dooley has. And again, I am very curious. I tend to agree with McCarthy. I could very much see Trump weighing in on Collins' behalf as we get to the general, especially with the margins the way it is. Though, Kemp and Trump have patched things up. They're not buddies, but maybe can get him to hold off and see how things go in the first couple weeks of the runoff. We'll see, but we'll see.
The president does not like to take risks.
I was just going to say, the president likes a winner.
He'd be
He likes
boring
a
in
winner.
Vegas, right? I mean, he always takes the odds, right?
Yeah.
He picks favorites when possible. And if Collins is that far out ahead, I struggle to see him sticking his neck out for somebody he doesn't feel like he has to.
When we talk about the president and his endorsements, we've been keeping a scorecard basically of all the endorsements that the president has made tonight in these different primary races. I'm going to give the team in the control. I'm going to give you a beat to pull that up, but it's super interesting here. When you look at the president,
about people?
and listen, he
Like
obviously
their
has an
preference
endorsement
and what
in
they
some of
like
these
to
key
do?
races.
He endorsed more
a
than
bunch of others.
3 dozen candidates.
Yeah, but look at this: winners,
could be.
losers, runoffs. We're still waiting on, I think, a handful, half dozen, 6 or 8 or so, but that's significant.
For the
president's gonna like those results here, and it's also not necessarily surprising because in many ways, some of these are seats that were safe seats. People that were not having competitive primaries, et cetera.
Yeah, and his record in Republican primaries is much better than his record overall, right? I mean, this is a run up the scoreboard situation for the president, but the people who win Republican primaries does not necessarily a majority make.
But is that the Derek Dooley story?
Yeah,
is that part of the?
Yeah, look, I think it's certainly part of it, right? And again, like, why do it now when you haven't to this point? Like, if it's net, you're going to get a Republican candidate who you're sort of marginally okay with. I just don't know why he'd expend political capital on an underdog.
And we should make a similar graphic with the general election results.
Yeah.
And see what that's like.
Will you come back?
Hopefully you'll still
You
be
want me
here.
to build that graphic? I can only come back if I build that graphic. Is that
How
what
are
you're
you at
saying?
Photoshop?
Yeah. I'll get right on that.
We're going to pause for just a second because polls will be closing in less than 30 minutes in Oregon. And for more on the state of that state's races, let's bring in Evan Watson from our NBC Portland affiliate. Evan, great to see you.
Finally,
Thanks so much
Here we go.
for being here. So Oregon uniquely only votes by mail, which has been a big topic of debate for the president,
I'd be there
as you well know. How are things looking there? What are you watching for?
Absolutely. We're tracking voter turnout around 32% as of this time. And when results come in less than half an hour now, we should have a pretty good idea of some of the states of these races being a vote by mail state, with a lot of those ballots having already been processed and ready for those results to be revealed at that 8 o'clock Pacific hour. Now, I'm currently at State Senator Christine Drazen's watch party here at a winery in Oregon. She is the expected favorite among Republican candidates for governor to challenge Democratic Governor Tina Kotek in this race. If Drazen were to win this primary here this evening, that would set up a rematch between Drazen and Kotek from 2022, when Drazen lost by about 3.5 points, 43.5% of the vote to Kotek's 47%. Drazen says she's focused on affordability, public safety, and as she says, accountability for years of Democratic leadership in Oregon. Among the other candidates in this race for Republican governor candidate, that includes Chris Dudley, a former Portland trailblazer who was the candidate for Republicans back in 2010, and State Representative Ed Deal. Now, another thing to note in Oregon, it is a closed primary system, so only Republicans are voting for the Republican candidates in this race, but we're getting very close now to seeing our first look at results in less than a half an hour here in Oregon to see who's really rising to the top of this crowded field of Republican candidates for governor.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We'll check back in with you when we hopefully have some results. Thanks for that reporting.
Steve Kornacki, let's get another check with you on what you're looking for as some of these outstanding vote counts are coming in.
Yeah, that runoff shaping up here in Georgia in that Senate race on the Republican side here. Again, Mike Collins, the congressman, advancing. Who will face him? Derek Dooley. You know, we've been telling the story for a few hours, just slowly inching his way to an advantage over Buddy Carter. You can see it sits at nearly 30,000 votes now between Dooley and Carter. Look, one of the biggest outstanding sources of votes for Carter is Chatham County, where Savannah, as you can see, this is in Carter's congressional district. You can see how he's doing here. There still is a third of the vote here. So, you know, and you can see how Dooley's doing as well. So Carter's going to make up a little bit from here, but that's only a fraction of that statewide gap that he faces against Dooley. And meanwhile, again, we've been talking about those issues in Fulton County. We don't have any votes from Fulton County yet. But look everywhere outside Fulton County. That's the Dooley shade of red there.
It's because of
pink, I guess you would call it. You just don't have any votes from there yet. But again,
it's because of the time difference, time zones.
Cast in Georgia tonight.
That's why time zones
roughly are going to come out of here. Look, in Cobb County, it's Dooley, it's Collins. It's a distant third to Buddy Carter. Gwinnett County, it's Dooley, it's Collins, it's a distant third. So you just see what's going on in the area here. So when this comes in, you would expect, based on everything we're seeing, something similar to that, with Dooley having an advantage in a big population place over Carter. We just haven't seen any votes from there yet. But if that is what happens when it comes in, then that Dooley position over Carter is looking very safe heading into the runoff. And the question then becomes, he makes the runoff. Folks didn't think he could do that maybe a month ago. That'd be an achievement for him. But he's going to be double digits behind Collins. How does he navigate that?
Folks didn't think he could Dooley that.
Race so closely, Steve. Thank you. And what's fascinating about it, it's not impossible for a candidate who comes in second place in
Nothing's impossible, guys.
Gorman, to actually wind up.
Nothing's impossible. You can always meet somebody.
In 2018,
like
we saw
an example.
You might be seeing another example like Ken Paxton in Texas.
Oh, get ready.
I could have been at the election party tonight.
You're right. And
you always meet people.
Was another one about 10 years ago down in Mississippi too. So
again,
the right factors have to be at play. You got to get close. You got to have the right.
I was at Drazen's back in 2022.
Collins is no slouch. And again, if the president weighs in on his behalf,
I streamed that. That might be on my YouTube channel. I streamed the Drazen one.
What is that I hear? What is that? Was that Garrett Hake's music? My God.
Somebody mentioned Texas. I'm contractually obligated to weigh in if anybody
We did, I don't know, about 17 hours ago when we were in the first couple of hours of this broadcast, we did sort of lovingly tease you about how you're going to want to have some thoughts on Texas, but it was so interesting. I mean, Kristen made the really excellent point that this is a dramatic endorsement for the president. It is a candidate who, Ashley, I'm sure you'll want to weigh in here, who Democrats are kind of licking their chops about in a state that, as you well know, how many times have you talked about and reported from Texas about how Democrats are hoping that maybe this is the year.
Yeah, maybe this year. Look, so I will tell you, this endorsement is pure Trump from everything I've been able to tell. And I've been trying to report this out for months. And at no point in my reporting journey on this story has anyone told me that the president was particularly close to endorsing Ken Paxton. It was either that he was going to endorse Cornyn or he was going to stay out of it. And I think some of that is candidly, the bias of a lot of these sources who wanted to see this happen. The president has been told by the majority leader of the U.S. Senate, by his former campaign manager, and by his top political aides not to do this, that he should be backing John Cornyn as the safer path to win the seat with a, nominally pro-Trump candidate. And today he went the other way. I think so much of that is this feeling of essentially his own political oats, his own political power that he has after knocking off all those Indiana, state house members. Bill Cassidy, he knew, I think he felt confident he was going to beat Massey tonight and decided he was going to make the move that he wanted all along. But now he owns this in Texas, and it could be almost certainly the most expensive Senate race maybe in history we're going to see right now, with Democrats, as always, champing at the bit to go after what now looks like a potentially winnable race.
And Ryan, that's what we've been talking about throughout the course of this night, the money aspect of this, where Republicans are going to have to pour so much money into Texas now that could have been used to defend other battleground seats.
And will it be easy to raise that money? I just don't know. I think that's a big open question for Republicans.
No, he is not. No, he is not. Oh, no.
The funding that a candidate can take on their own is so much easier spent. They can buy ads at a cheaper rate. Ken Paxton just does not have the same fundraising prowess that John Cornyn has.
John Cornyn, dramatically outrageous.
John Cornyn is one of, if not the best fundraiser in the United States Senate. If he has...
Jesus. Oh, I don't know if I can play the music, but yeah. So that's guy Rob. Oh, yeah. Is that Atlanta? No. Where is it at again? That's the guy just won. What? Oh my goodness. Oh. Chris Rabb, Democratic winner. Oh, it went off. Oh, okay. Let's check him out. Oh, don't say nothing. At least they're not different earrings. Oh.
I'm talking about the aggressive fabulosity of this week. See what I did there?
Oh, Julian.
I am there were moments along this 10-month journey that tried me. But I was reminded that tough times pass, but tough people last. And there was a moment a couple of months ago, not long ago, where I was on the precipice of withdrawing from this race. And
Christie's
there were people.
Diaz, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
At my worst, in the depths of adversity. Good people who showed up when I needed them most.
Oh, no.
Not the least of which was my mom. And she would not allow me to make that choice.
Why wouldn't she allow you to make any other choices?
Because my mother,
Nothing about
and
daddy?
those closest to me,
Nothing about daddy. See?
knew that
I must be ruining
for
stuff.
me in this race that I was walking in my purpose.
Walking in your purpose.
And the purpose is so much bigger than the position. Positions come and go. But to be steadfast in your purpose, which is why I said that we just won. Because I assure you, I did not win tonight. We won. We won. We won. And this is not the end. This is just the beginning. Because I see you.
Oh.
I see you. I know what we're capable of.
Just come and go.
I see your beauty. I see your power. I feel your radiant love.
I gotta.
Because that is what has inspired me in this journey. Those people closest to the pain. I see you. And I thank you.
His mommy's there. Not dad.
Best damn congressperson I can be.
You got your mother's spirit.
And we made this happen because of the people I have surrounded myself with. Mom. My loved ones. My family.
Oh, man.
All of those who hold me dear.
Mom.
And my campaign team.
Mom. Oh, boy. Mom.
And when I say my campaign team, that radiates to all of my amazing volunteers as well.
Mom. Oh.
And it includes all of those amazing public servants, not politicians, because I didn't get a single endorsement from a politician. They can keep their endorsements. But I know some public servants. I know a Congresswoman Summer Lee, who is in the House. They didn't say she could win either. All of those electeds, those public servants, all of those amazing grassroots organizations. All of those members of organized labor. We do this in community. Because beyond this moment is movement. And we know how important movement is because we see what's going on right now on the federal level. We see the erosion of our rights and civil liberties. And we know that the only way we can move towards a multiracial democracy is by showing up for each other. And not just playing around the edges. We demand systemic change. And I have been critiqued along this campaign for being too radical, being too bold. They ain't seen nothing yet. And this has been a unique primary where for the first time in 35 years, there was not an incumbent on the ballot. And I want to take a moment to thank my opponents. I want to thank my opponents. It's not easy to run for office. And I thank all of them. I appreciated them. Intense moments and moments of levity. I thank all of them. I want to say, because we're about to party. I did not know what the outcome would be tonight.
Change positions.
All right.
Positions come and
But I know
go.
what justice looks like. And we don't do it alone. I chose to run because I felt the breath of my ancestors on the back of my neck.
Call Jesse. We need to call Jesse. Call me.
I carry my ancestors with me,
Yeah,
who've
start
been
crying.
fighting for racial justice in this nation for centuries
Here we
and
go. Here we
generations.
go. Here we go. Here we go. Yep. Tell mama you love her.
But as much as I've been inspired by my ancestors, abolitionists, freedom fighters, civil rights activists, and aggressive badasses, I am also inspired by future generations. By the young people I'm looking at in this crowd and beyond. I'm a formerly young person, I see you.
He doesn't forgive his mama. Turner, I love you, mama.
There's an unbroken chain between the past, the present, and the future. And we have to dream big.
Mama says, fine, you can be whatever you want to be.
Organize hard to get everything that we deserve. And I am so thankful to be surrounded by so many loved ones. So many people who are dedicated to service and community and care and radiant love.
Oh boy.
My brother.
Let me see him. Stay away from young people.
But the real reason I ran was because of my sons.
Oh boy. We saw what happened to Magic Johnson's son. Hopefully that won't happen to him.
I love you. All right, before I start crying, let me just say that it's more than just vibes that made this happen. Nearly 8,000 people
He's gonna cry.
donated to my campaign. And not a single dollar came from a corporate PAC. Not a dime. It came from you. It came from you. And for all of those people
His son
who
looks
fought the
nothing
good
like
fight
him.
with me shoulder to shoulder.
What's his name?
I see you. I thank you.
What's his name?
And I love you.
I love you too.
All the people who weren't supposed to come together. Jewish folk, Muslims, atheists. We're not supposed to be partying, but we do what we do, and we do it in community and radiant love. This is an aggressively diverse community here. This is what our district looks like. And we deserve the very best. They're gonna try to tear us apart. We're not gonna let that happen because we see our power when we believe in collective action. We are indomitable. All right, it's time to party. Thank you all, everyone. I am so moved. We did it. We did it. We did it.
Okay. So he was married. He was married to a woman. I don't know what happened. Imani Perry, prominent author, scholar, and law professor. Prominent author, scholar, and law professor. He is an ally, of course, to everything else. He is an ally to strong supporter, if you can't tell, to the LGBTQ community, but he does not identify as a homosexual or LGBTQ plus person himself. So there's that. So just he favors them. He's in high favor of them, but that's it. That is supposedly it. Nothing else. According to what sources say. I don't know. You know, he's not married no more. So, anywho, trying to see where we're at. Oregon needs to start coming in. It's 8:00. The polls have officially closed in Oregon, West Coast, Idaho also. They're not showing nothing at the moment. So it'll be a few minutes, I guess. They're covering something else. Why are we? Is there anything on Oregon? Seriously? I told Oregon, Angry Oregonian said it. I did too. They're not going to show Oregon. It's not a big deal. They're not going to show Oregon, Idaho. All the big ones are done. Let's see if this one's going. Nope, they're showing new news. They're not even showing it. The stream has concluded. They don't care about Oregon. I'm telling you, it's not no big deal. All the big ones are done. It's 11:00. All the big ones are done. They're not caring. They're not caring. They're not caring. Oh, of course. Let me see. Live Oregon. Oregon. Election. Oregon primaries. Okay, so there is some. That's channel 2. I need to find something else. I need to find something else I can actually. California is not tonight. I heard California is not tonight. I guess I can go for this. If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. Whatever. It is what it is.
Trying to go right out to Christine Drazen's campaign right now. Christina Giardinelli is there. Have they seen those results? What's the atmosphere like?
Here we go.
You know, it doesn't seem like anyone's looking just this minute. They did promise us to update us here on the stage as soon as that first dump of votes comes in. So I imagine that could happen any second now. But the excitement has been high. And of course, what we're seeing so far, as you mentioned, just very early results. What we're seeing so far has lined up with what the polls have told us. And it looks like things are quieting down a little bit. So they may be announcing some of those first results here shortly. We'll keep an eye out for that. But as I mentioned, the results that you're seeing so far, they do line up with what the polls have said, showing Drazen, of course, in the lead against the other candidates, Ed Deal, Chris Dudley, and Danielle Bethel. This has, of course, been a contentious and heated primary race for Republican governor. It's something that we haven't seen in a long time. We also haven't seen a Republican governor outseat the Democrats since the 1980s. It's going to, of course, be an interesting race if it comes down again to Drazen and
That's what's going to come. It's going to come down to
2022. This will be a rematch between the two.
It's going to come down to Drazen and more. It's either going to be Drazen or Ed Deal, but I think it's going to be Drazen. It's going to come down to Drazen and it was in 2022.
7% of the vote. Drazen taking 43, and then of course the wild card Johnson taking just around 9%.
Play this because the music, goodness gracious.
This year, it does end up between Drazen and Kotek.
So there it is right now. Chris Dudley, Chris Dudley in the head. David Medina. Oh, look at Medina. But this is the top. It's right there between them two. Dang it. Drazen's going to get it. It's going to be Drazen. It's Drazen. It's going to be Drazen. And she won't win against Kotek. She won't win against Kotek. Nope. She won't win.
Barry Mangold is at his watch party now. Barry, you're standing by with his campaign manager. I think the question I have is, do they think they can overcome that delta there, 13 percentage points, with that first dump of ballots?
Absolutely going to be a key question for the Ed Deal campaign, but he's not.
Can't play it. Goodness gracious. Sorry, guys. Let me look on. For the poll I did, let me look at the poll I did. Do you have a Facebook page? If so, follow me. 71% of you guys said yes, you do. 29% said no. So for those 71%, I got a favor. Please go on Facebook. And I'm asking this because it's kind of important. Please go on Facebook, even if you guys watch on YouTube. Okay. Please go on Facebook and share my videos, my live streams every time I go on. Even if you don't watch on Facebook, just go on Facebook and share it. Go to my page and please share it. I'm 15,000 away from 100K followers, which will help in a lot of ways. It'll break the algorithm that's going on and shadow banning and hiding, suppressing my page. And also with the 100K, I think I actually finally can get a possibly, I don't know, I got to look into it, but I think I possibly get a rep then at that point that I can actually talk to at Facebook to help in a lot of areas. So like I said, I'm 15,000 away from that. Go to my page, please. Every time I go live, if you guys are followers, just go to the page on Facebook and share it out. You can come back to YouTube and watch if that's how you watch. If you have an account, please go there and just do that every time I go live. Please do that. I need to break some things in the algorithm, and I think that's going to help break it, unlock it, to get it. Because I'm kind of like stuck at this plateau. Nothing's moving. And so it needs some traction on Facebook. So please do that. Help share that page. The more followers, the better. Like I said, you get to 100K, I think I get a person, a rep, at least more. I can deal with someone on Facebook. But I appreciate that, you guys. Honestly, I appreciate that.
Call the Democratic primary. No surprise here, in favor of the current governor, Tina Kotek. So the big question now is who will face her in November? Christine Drazan, Ed Deal, Chris Dudley are some of those other competitors. There's the first batch of results. We have 44% for Christine Drazan. Victor Park is standing by right now at Chris Dudley's watch party, as I understand it, with Chris Dudley. So what's he thinking with this first
One
batch
page from
of
2021 or the
here,
two pages connected? I don't believe so. I don't have no page from.
Yeah, we are here at the Cheerful Tortoise. This is in Southwest Portland near PSU. And
Email me the links. I don't think I have that.
You've seen those preliminary results. I want to know what's
Chris
going through
Dudley.
your mind right now.
Well, obviously the preliminary aren't what we want, but we knew we were closing fast at the end, and we got in the race late. Had a lot of momentum at the end, especially when he came out that we were beating Tina.
What was that? I didn't do that. Did
the
I?
end of the
No?
results come in. We think we're about 40% are in.
Okay,
There's
thank you.
another 60% to be seen. So we'll see how it goes. And just here with a great group of people and fired up with a lot of friends, supporters, and just good people who all want better for Oregon, which is what we all want.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I've been talking to voters and many of them just feel like, you are the outsider from the other two candidates, Christine Drazan and Ed Deal. You are the one who doesn't have the experience in office, but yet could bring something different to Oregon. They feel like they need a new face also for the Republican Party.
I do have a
and
link.
They also feel like you are the one that could bring some of those Democratic voters or those people who may be on edge or independents to vote and maybe select you. So I want to know, when you hear that, do you feel confident that you could eventually pull this off?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel good about it. I felt good in seeing that because we hear it all the time from independents, from Democrats, and feel that there's a hunger in our state for someone who can bring people together. And they're tired of the
I'll
partisan
post the link in
politics,
just a
the back
second.
and forth, and actually be able to, bring people, have serious solutions for our state. Has serious problems. When you look at it, and the numbers are what they are, but we're ranked 50th in education, 47th job creation, and on and on and on. And say we need to focus. We need to come together and be able to solve these issues. And hopeful that we're able to do that and run on a message and have a message where I look forward to being able to bring people in from all different angles. And it's something I've done my whole life, and bring people from different backgrounds together towards a common cause.
You may not have been in office, but you have ran for office before. Yeah. Obviously, that was a very tight race when it came down to the governor's race. What happens then now? Let's say that, someone else, Eddie or Christine Drazan, ends up winning this side. What happens next? What is your plan?
Well, my problem, it's always been to help the state whichever way I can. And in running, you want to highlight these issues and focus. And I think we connected across party. We connected in that we were winning the election by 4 points against the present governor. So I think that does show the message that we were putting out there was resonating. And I do think it's the right time from an outsider to come in, somebody away from politics. I think somebody with a business background, we haven't had that in the governor's office in over 40 years. And I would argue that it shows. And I think there's a hunger out there for that. And so hopefully we'll see that tonight and with the later results coming in. But either way, I just want better for Oregon.
I I know my anchor, Wright Gazaway, does have a question. What do you have, Wright?
Victor, I'm curious, can you ask him if he would consider running as an independent, depending on how this race shapes up tonight?
Would you consider running as an independent, depending on how this race shapes up tonight?
I'm not even going to think about that right now. I just want to, we're hoping for the rest of the results. I'm proud to represent the Republican Party, which I've done in the past. So I'm not even going to think about that right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to us live on K2 News. And by the way, guys, I mean, there is a party here. A lot of people just, there are about 100 people here, sort of having fun, of course. When those election results started coming in, it became quiet here. Everyone started looking at the TV and trying to figure out what is the results. And obviously they're seeing some of it right now, but it seems like there is some kind of confidence at least over here, but we'll keep you posted here. I'll send it back to you, Wright.
Victor Park, thank you for that. We're going to go through some of the statewide congressional races as well as the Senate race. One thing that's unique about Oregon, you only are voting in this primary if you're registered with that party. So anyone voting in the Democratic primaries is a registered Democrat.
There it is.
Republican. So everyone is not weighing in
there in
here.
the chat.
This is the U.S.
And
Senate
thank you so much for the gifted 5 BC Preacher memberships, you guys. Thank you.
94% of the vote. That race has been called. We're going to go to the first district. Incumbent Suzanne Bonamici has been declared the winner there. 89% of the vote in her primary.
Too hot to figure
Moving
out
to the second district, this is to challenge Cliff Bentz, the lone Republican in Congress. And you can see a very tight race there. Chris Beck, though, with 35% of the vote. Mary Doyle in second place with 3,600 votes or so right there, 35% to 18%. Let's move to the third district right now. Incumbent Maxine Dexter has won that primary, 90% of the vote in her race, not a competitive race on the Republican side. So Maxine Dexter likely seals up a second term there in Congress. Let's move over to the fourth district now. Val Hoyle running away with that primary as well, the incumbent, 78%. No real surprises so far. You can see
why it's so quiet.
19% of the vote. That check mark indicates the Associated Press has called that race. Let's go now to the fifth district. And let's see, Janelle Bynum, 84% of the vote there. Her challenger, 16%. This will be a tight race in November, most likely watched by both parties. That district, Janelle Bynum flipped that last time and beat Lori Chavez-DeRemer, so a very competitive race there. We're going to move to the Democratic side. Nobody's challenging Andrea Salinas on the Democratic side in District 6, so she will move on to the general election by virtue of that. Here is the Senate race to challenge Jeff Merkley. On the Republican side, you can see a tight race there. David Smith right now, 31% of the vote. Joe Ray Perkins, 25%. Still very early. These are very preliminary numbers, but you can see a very tight race shaping up between David Smith and Joe Ray Perkins to challenge Jeff Merkley. This is the first district right here. Barbara Call winning that primary right now. She is running in the first district as well to challenge Suzanne Bonamici. Let's move to the second district now. Cliff Bentz, the incumbent lone Republican for Oregon in Congress, 80% of the vote. He has won that primary. Also not a competitive seat there in November, so Cliff Bentz likely securing re-election with this win tonight. Let's move over to the third district now. Actually, no one challenging in the third district there on the Republican side, just one person, so no race there. This is the fourth district. You can see Monique Despain with 87% of the vote there. She
too quiet.
Appears to be winning that primary to challenge Val Hoyle in November. And now let's move over to the fifth district, and you can see a tight race there. Patty Adair, 57% of the vote. Jonathan Lockwood has 42% of the vote. This is to challenge Janelle Bynum. So two newcomers there fighting for that competitive seat in District 5. There is only one Republican running in District 6, so that race is not competitive tonight. That race will be between Andrea Salinas in November. All right, so there are the early results from all of our congressional and federal races right now. We have our team out right now. Sean, where do we want to go right now? So we're going to go check back in with Ed Deal's campaign now. Barry Mangold is there, as he told us earlier, also tracking that Measure 120 result. A resounding rejection so far. 82% of voters saying no to raising the gas taxes and fees. Barry, what's the latest there?
Yeah, so that race, Measure 120, is just one of the measures that Ed Deal is watching tonight because he was one of the chief petitioners to get those gas tax increases and the fee or the vehicle fee and registration fee increases onto the ballot. As you said, that has been a success for him. We have him live here for us now, and so Ed Deal, first off, just thank you very much for being here to talk to us.
You bet. Thank you for being here.
And just before coming on, you came over and you said the next batch of results, the gap is closing right now. I'm looking at the results, and it's got you with 70,800 votes, with Christine Drazen at 96,000. Are you hopeful to close the gap?
Yeah, we are. Absolutely. There's about 20% of the total vote in. It's not even, they haven't even counted half of what we expect to come in, maybe not even a third. So, yeah, we're still cautiously optimistic. Yeah.
Of course, it's still early in election night. I know, I wonder, throughout this campaign, there's been a lot of names on the Republican ballot. How have you tried to differentiate yourself from other Republicans on the ticket?
I've tried to be really specific about what my policies are. Number one is reducing people's tax
Why is it
burdens.
just me?
People feel like they're paying way too much in
Why-
taxes
I
and
can't
not
turn
getting
it up.
value for it. That's number one. Another thing is my business background, engineering
can't-
background.
it's all the way
saying,
turned up.
We need to focus on bringing
I can't turn it
good-paying
up louder.
jobs into the state.
Like if
private
you and I
sector
turn it up,
jobs.
is that louder?
Those are two big things among many other
Did that
issues
go up
we're
louder? I don't
facing
think
as
it did.
Oregonians.
And I know the other, the other race that we are watching with Measure 120, as Wright said, 82% saying no, 17% saying yes. What do you think when you see that result?
That tells us we did the right thing. All the work that these volunteers put in to gather those 250,000 signatures, the people have spoken.
Did it get
They're
louder?
not happy with what Governor
When I did
Kotek
that?
tried to do, and they're
just
resoundingly
controls.
telling her, no, we do not want these. We want an ODOT that's accountable for the money they're already collecting.
I can't help but look to November and wonder whoever is nominated for the Republican Party. The state of Oregon has not elected a Republican governor since 1982. Do you think this year
Didn't do
is
nothing.
the year that changes?
You guys would have said something. It didn't get louder.
Absolutely. I would not be doing this. I wouldn't be flipping my life upside down, or my wife's life upside down, if we didn't think it was possible. It's
Nope, I
4
can't.
decades of one-party
You can hear
government,
just
and it
fine.
shows.
Okay.
We
It just
don't
don't seem
have
like it's
agencies
loud
that are
enough.
accountable. And I think Oregonians are ready for change.
I can't do the music unless somebody's actually playing.
Here's a hypothetical for you. Would you ever
Does
consider
it-
running as an independent?
Well, you mean if I lose this? No. For one, I can't do it. There's a sore loser law, and I wouldn't do it. Whoever comes out of this primary, I'm going to be supportive. Yeah.
Representative Ed Deal, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and thank you for putting on a watch party that is out in the street, not in the cramped room. Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Ed. Hey, have a great night. Thank you very much. And we are still going to be watching those results here as we continue to check in
He's
with
not winning.
Representative Deal and other folks with his campaign. For now, we'll send it back.
I told you guys. I said it. I said it. I said it. I said it. And you guys want to continue to say that the system's not rigged and fixed. It's rigged
All right,
and
we're now
fixed.
15 minutes past the deadline to drop off ballots.
It's rigged and fixed. It's establishments.
The state has already published the first
That's-
round of results, but still a very long night ahead. In fact, joining us now live to give us a look at what's to come, Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed.
It's
First off, Secretary Reed,
establishments,
thank
you
for
guys.
your time
It's
with
all
us tonight.
establishments and money.
Happy to be here. Happy election night.
Happy
That's all
election
it
night
is.
to you as well. Any surprises so
Establishment
far?
and the money. The establishment
Well,
gets
I think
behind the
we
people
feel
that they
really
want.
good about the turnout so far. It's strong. We're already ahead of pace for 2022 and 2024. That is a good thing because we have secure, accurate, fair elections in Oregon, and Oregonians
Do
are
we?
participating. They're holding government accountable. They're expressing their opinions, and that's something we should all be really happy about.
We certainly saw some cars still driving up to the ballot drop box at 8:01, so they unfortunately can't vote. But what do you think about the turnout? You've been telling people to get out and vote. Are you satisfied with the turnout?
I'm never going to be satisfied until we get to 100%. But I am encouraged that
Well,
more
you
people
didn't
are
get me.
participating than we saw in 2022 and 2024.
Trying to
We're
find
on
Idaho.
pace to get ahead of that in the final numbers. We'll see those over time.
trying to
because,
find
of course,
Idaho.
ballots that were cast legally and postmarked on time can still be
Also, you
counted if
guys,
they
please share
arrive
on
at
X. If you
elections
guys are on X,
within
please
7
share
days.
it
So we'll
out
see
on
those
X.
numbers continue to creep up in the days to come.
I know it's all these
The more
different
they do,
platforms.
the better for us.
I'm
As
begging
long
you
as they're
guys.
eligible and cast legally, they get to us. We'll count them and make sure that they
I'm not a good
are
promoter
there
of
to get
myself.
to
I
us by
really,
mail,
I'm
of
not
course,
at all.
after they're postmarked on time.
We've heard anecdotally a lot of voters trying to switch parties. Maybe they didn't realize really the rules that you can only vote in the primary you're registered for. Have you seen your office those requests at higher levels than past elections?
Let me see.
No, we see
There's
this
anything
every
for
time
Idaho.
when people, are tuned back in and get ready to vote, and maybe they didn't go through the process to change their party registration. So it's a good reminder for everybody to check their status, make sure that their addresses are up to date in advance of an election, make sure they are registered
This is
with
Oregon.
the party they prefer so they get the ballot they want. We take those seriously, but we're also encouraging people to pay attention to their status as we go forward.
All right, so the results we have right now are very early, I should say, preliminary. What kind of updates does your office expect throughout the night before we head into tomorrow?
I
We're
found
in touch with
Oregon.
the county clerks across
Or
the state. These are
Idaho.
the heroes of democracy who are doing this hard work. You can see on the screen behind me one of those county elections offices. We're monitoring, making sure that they have the resources they need. Every 15 minutes or so for a while, we'll see additional updates. That'll slow down as the elections officials get up to date with what they have received in up till now. So our job is, of course, to get it right. We are trying to make sure that we apply the same rigor that we always do, so Oregonians can be confident and trust the results when we get there.
It looks like you're in some sort of operations room. Can you pull back the curtain a little bit and tell our viewers what your office and these county clerks are doing? I see some security cameras, it looks like, behind you, some things on the whiteboard. What does tonight look like for you?
Right. We're watching what's happening in all the counties across the state when they're reporting their initial rounds. We're watching the process take place across the counties. This is what matters, and Oregonians can do this too. They can participate in our elections beyond voting their own ballot. They can watch what's happening in their county clerk's offices and see all the security checks, all the processes that are part of what goes on to make sure that ballots are securely, accurately, and fairly counted. Those are great things for every Oregonian.
Secretary Tobias Reed, thank you for your time. Get some coffee and hope you enjoy tonight.
Thank you. You too.
All right, we're going to head back out to Christine Drazen's campaign right now. You saw that early batch of results so far, votes that have been counted. Christine Drazen has a pretty sizable lead, 44%. You're hearing from all of them that it's very early. Christina Giarnelli is standing by with a member of Christine Drazen's campaign. Christina, what's the latest?
Real
Have they
quick,
seen
guys.
those results?
We'll come over to Idaho.
Yeah, so we have started to see a few results coming in, and there has been some applause, of course, especially with the results on the gas tax measure. But so far, we're hearing people be pretty conservative as far as the results on this
Is that Kim?
Governor's
No,
primary.
that's not Kim.
I have here Drazen's colleague in the House, Representative Anna Scharf.
I think
I'm
Kim
going
needs
to have her.
Eds.
I'm going to have her talk here a little bit. Drazen has not talked to the media yet, so we're waiting for her to come out. But in the meantime, we're going to talk to Representative Anna Scharf. Could you tell me a little bit about, what the feeling is here tonight? You mentioned being a little conservative still about those votes coming in.
Yeah, I think that by nature we're just conservative, just making sure that everything's in place. There's several large counties that still haven't reported on the Secretary of State's website, but the early initial numbers look really, really good. And so do some of the House and Senate races. So I think Oregonians are paying attention. They're taking a turn and saying, we want our state back. We want our Oregon back.
What do you think about the gas tax measure coming in? I mean, those results, you mentioned it to me. You didn't see it going any other way. And that one you're calling. You're not conservative about that one.
No, not shocking at all on that at all. I think Oregonians see exactly what that was. It was an overreach by state government. We've been saying it all along. We said it all during 25 session, into 26 short. There's a better way to fund government and keep them accountable, which is the most important thing that Oregonians want. They'll give you their money, but they want accountability in their government. And that's what we need to do both in the House and the Senate and in the governor's race.
We've seen that gas tax come up in this primary election, in people's platforms here. Why do you think that is coming up so much in this primary?
Because every Oregonian that owns a car feels it and they see it. And so it's hard to turn away from it. Unlike the disconnect bill, which is a little more wonky to explain to voters, everybody sees the gas tax. They see it on the billboard. They see it at the gas station. They feel it in their tanks. They want a change. They want accountability in Oregon.
So you have another colleague also running in this primary election. Why did you choose to support Drazen?
So Christine has been with me since day one. I was staff in the building before I got appointed. When I got elected the first time, she has always been there for me, and I believe in her. And I think that she is what we need to take us and beat Tina into the next cycle.
We just heard Adil say he will be supportive of any Republican candidate at the end of the day. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. I hadn't heard that yet. I have the utmost respect for Representative Deal. I've served with him as well. And if we can bring all Republicans together, those that supported Deal in the primary, those that supported Dudley in the primary, those that supported Danielle Bethel, if we come together united, we will take our state back and make a difference to all Oregonians across the state.
Obviously, if Drazen, wins tonight, that will be a rematch between her and Kotek. Why do you think this is the year?
Because everybody is seeing exactly what we saw when she was our Speaker of the House and exactly where she's taking us. And she's taking us in a direction that Oregonians don't want. Oregonians want a better way of life. They want safe streets. They want good schools. They want a strong economy. And she hasn't put a single bill forward when she was Speaker or when she's been governor that would take us in that direction. And it's time for a new direction in this state. It's time to get back to the Oregon way. And the Oregon way is looking out for all Oregonians.
Do you think that having a Republican president will influence this election one way or another? And if so, like how?
Senator Drazen is not running against Donald Trump. What they do at the federal level is completely different. We need to solve all problems at home, right here and right now. And what the feds do, let the feds do. But we have got to solve Oregon problems, and that is what Christine Drazen can do.
Now, she hasn't said whether or not she'd accept Trump's support if he did go that way. How do you feel about it?
I think that's completely up to her and her campaign. I've worked with our federal administration. I've worked with the Democrats we have in Congress and the Republicans we have in Congress. We just need to get together and win and take back our state.
We're going to let some of the results speak here now, but thank you so much for talking to us. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Let's go.
I'm going to just let you hear some of what they're announcing here.
For 2 terms now, two of these attempts. So this is our year. We're really, really excited.
Go ahead and pen.
My name's Paul Newman. I'm from Lighthouse Worldwide Solutions. We manufacture laser-based particle counters, high technology here in Southern Oregon.
So you're listening right there to the watch party for Christine Drazen. Senator Drazen is leading that primary very early on. These are the new results we have. She is now over 100,000 votes, still holding steady there at 44% of the vote. Ed Deal there in second place with 32% of the vote. You heard him talk to Barry there earlier. He's still confident. A lot of votes are outstanding. Even Christine Drazen's campaign is saying that there are still a lot of votes out there as well in some of the larger counties. You can see Chris Dudley staying there at 15%, sizably behind Ed Deal and Christine Drazen. So certainly looks like it's shaping up to be a race between Christine Drazen and Ed Deal, but certainly anything can happen. It is very early.
Anything can happen.
One thing that is certain in this race, the winner of this primary will take on current Governor Tina Kotek in November. She has cruised to the primary victory in her race, really not a very competitive race. There was not a huge field of candidates with a ton of name recognition running against her. K2's Wesley Ogle.
I don't know how I feel about Drazen either. Again,
Governor Kotek's reaction.
it ain't going to happen.
Results. Wesley, what is she saying?
She's not beating Kotek.
She just posted this video on Instagram about 10 minutes ago, thanking the Democrats for electing her as their nominee for governor. So I'm going to let the booth take this and we can listen to it full.
As your Democratic nominee for governor, I'm really grateful for your support. Together, we show what Oregon looks like when we lead with our values and deliver real results for Oregon families. And this November, every bit of that is on the ballot. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Republican politicians led by President Trump are attacking healthcare, cutting food programs for our neighbors, terrorizing entire communities, and driving up costs for everyone. And every step of the way, we have fought back. I'm running to make life more affordable, like lowering the cost of housing and healthcare. I'm running to protect reproductive care and defend access to abortion. And I'm running to keep Oregon a place that stands up to President Trump's chaos and unlawful attacks on our values. Oregon, you are worth fighting for, and as your governor, I will always keep fighting for you. Thank you. Paid for by friends.
All right, so that's the one I've seen. I've also seen Maxine Dexter posted a video. I'm going to listen to that and come back and let you know what other reaction I'm seeing from these election results. Right back to you.
All right, Wesley, thank you for that reaction there from Governor Kotek. The first time we've heard from her. Her campaign got back to us and said they were not having a formal watch party, which is why we're not here. In case you're wondering, we're at the Republican primary, those campaigns. Because
it will happen, unfortunately.
Governor Kotek that said she was working, so she did not have an event. Let's go back through some of those races we're watching now with this updated list.
What is that?
Votes
Up
that
here
have
in the
been
corner
dropped from
on
the
the left?
Secretary of State. There's the
That's
governor's
the
race we
woman,
just mentioned, Governor Kotek
Tina.
there, 235,000 votes, really not even close. That race has been called. The Republican
the
side,
woman, Tina.
still very tight. We had that up earlier. Christine Drazen, another update here, 108,000 votes. So you can see that margin is staying roughly the same with each update we get. 44% for Christine Drazen, 31% for Ed Deal. If you're new to Oregon, something that's unique here, other states don't do this, the person with the most votes will win. They do not need to get 50% plus one to avoid a runoff. So whoever has the most votes, even if it's not a majority, will win this race. So 44% would do it in this case. Obviously, a lot of votes still to count, but there's no need to get to that 50% and above to avoid a runoff. So we will have a result by the time this race is certified a month from now. Now, here's the race for U.S. Senate. Jeff Merkley cruising to his reelection bid in November now in the Democratic primary there, 94% of the vote. We're going to shift now to congressional races. Now, this is the first district in Oregon. Suzanne Bonamici, the incumbent there, has won her race in the primary to continue her term there in Congress, running again in November now. In the second district, to challenge Cliff Bentz, the lone Republican, you can see Chris Beck right now holding a lead, 34% of the vote to 20% for Mary Doyle. Let's go now to the third district, where incumbent Maxine Dexter is cruising to her reelection bid in November. There, 90% of the vote. That race
I want
has
to switch
been
over
called.
to Idaho for
now
a
to the
second,
fourth
you guys.
district, Val Hoyle, the incumbent there, she also has wrapped up the victory tonight, 78% of the.
Very comfortable in this election. It's the smoothest one we've had. So we were always waiting for something to happen today because there's some new stuff with the new building, some new things that we're doing with ballot on demand out in the precincts, and everything seemed to work very smooth today. So we're very excited about it. We're very happy, and we're excited to continue to use the new facility.
We're knocking on some wood now that you've potentially jinxed it. I'm just saying it. Okay. The other thing I just have to show, I got this cool future voters sticker and just have to show that off
Joanne.
for the new baby girl that might be coming November. Stay tuned. So I thought that was kind of fun. But my last thing for you.
Joanne.
There to challenge Jeff Merkley. Let's move to Congress now. The first district. This is to challenge Suzanne Bonamici. And you can see Barbara Call there, 72% of the vote appears to have wrapped up.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for giving us some time. We're going to send it back to you in studio as that's okay. That was good news, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Beeping's good news. We're going to send it back to you guys.
Hunter, I do have a question for you. Some viewers at home wonder every election cycle, how can people really trust this process? I know Ada County has made a very significant and intentional push to have more oversight over the process so the public can kind of see how it works. If you wouldn't mind asking Clerk Triple about that.
Yeah, I'll come back to him because this building is actually really cool when it comes to transparency. We just had Morgan ask about how you guys are efforting transparency through the election process. I know this building has a big piece in that, but kind of talk to me about that.
So if you were standing out in the parking lot, you could actually look through the windows and see all the way to the back of the warehouse. That's one of the things that we've done. We want people to feel like there's nothing to hide in here because there isn't. We've also outfitted the warehouse with 59 cameras, live streaming. If you want to watch everything that's going on behind us, and in the tabulation room, you could log on to our website and watch for yourself everything that's going on in our warehouse. So we've spent a lot of effort and time and energy on getting transparency at the front of everyone's mind with elections.
Awesome. They have that website up right now, so they are ready to go. Again, thank you for giving us this. And yeah, I got to tell you, the windows in here are incredible. Kind of need some in my house.
Yeah, very cool insight. All right, Hunter Funk reporting live for us in Ada County. Hunter, thank you. You heard Clerk Triple talk about a similar primary with a higher turnout about 4 years ago. That was a very contested primary. Let's talk about that one, Dr. Witt.
Well, we had the sitting lieutenant governor challenge the sitting governor to be governor. So that Janice McGeehan's candidacy ultimately got about 32% of the primary voters, if I'm looking at the right notes here, back in 2022. So tonight, I think what will be interesting to see is will any of the long list of Republican candidates get anywhere close to that in regard to Governor Little's campaign tonight? I would be surprised because, of course, McGeehan was already an elected official statewide. Fitzpatrick, who's probably the best contender of the ones tonight, has had to work really hard to get the name recognition that he does have, and he doesn't have the built-in PR of being a seated elected official already.
He's run some interesting publicity campaigns surrounding Heterosexual Awesomeness Month at his Old State Saloon in downtown Eagle, as well as some other initiatives that he's done over the last several years. McGeehan, I know, gained a lot of notoriety throughout her time as lieutenant governor, specifically when it came to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so she did, like you said, have a lot of that statewide name recognition.
Yeah, there were a couple of those events when the governor would leave the state and the lieutenant governor would try to write new COVID policy, and then he would come back and, destroy that. So it was kind of exciting there for a minute watching the two of them come, go into combat over what COVID things we would have.
Looks like a green screen.
Yeah, that was interesting. Anna Levy also ran in that race initially as a Republican candidate, but then transitioned to an independent candidate.
Right. And he got about 16% of the vote in the general election.
Okay.
So there, maybe you can take the Mark Fitzpatrick candidacy and say this is a little bit of a feeling thermometer of people who are frustrated with the mainstream Republican Party and they want to, that they're more drawn to the further right candidates. It's kind of hard to say because Fitzpatrick is working really hard as a candidate, but he's not.
Told you, Guy, I called it.
So it's a little harder.
I already knew that was going to happen.
Okay. All right, Dr. Witt, thank you. We're going to send it over to Justin Core now, standing by at our touchscreen, tracking those live results.
So let me ask you a question.
40 minutes since the polls closed up north. Justin, what are we seeing?
Well, let's dial down into some state house races and some incumbents, especially in the Magic Valley area, especially those on the far right are in trouble right now. 9% reporting in District 25. That's Twin Falls. The incumbent, Josh Cole, one of the so-called Gang of Eight, that'd be on the far right of the state house. He right now is losing 55-44 to Casey Swenson. Again, 9%.
Twin
there.
Falls.
Bopping on over to eastern Idaho. This is about as close as it gets right now. Jim Guthrie, longtime incumbent over
David
there,
Worley.
sort of in the Pocatello area. He's only up by two votes on his challenger, David Worley. Let's take a look at the Idaho House. And again, take a look at, yes, the Twin Falls area. The incumbent, David Levitt, right now trailing Cherie Volmer, though just by 28 votes. Again, 9% reporting there. And let's take a look at District 30 in control there. Stephanie Mickelson in control there. Rod Furness. And here's another really surprising result. 20% reporting here in District 33. Again, longtime incumbent Barbara Ehart trailing, though, by 49 votes to Connor Cook, her challenger there in the Republican primary. Sort of a big surprise there. Again, these are establishments, I guess not establishment Republicans, but again, incumbents who are in trouble right now. 20% reporting is not an insignificant number right there. Chad Christensen trying to get back in District 35. He right now trailing by 5. Morgan?
All right, Justin, actually, we do have breaking news into the newsroom at this hour. Governor Brad Little has won the primary for the Republican Party, according to the Associated Press, who calls these races. We've got these live results on our website on ktvb.com/elections. You can check out everything as they roll in. But right now, 60% of the votes, 33,320 votes going to Governor Brad Little, 190 out of 983, which is about 20% of precincts reporting at this time. But the AP already calling that race. Second to him, no surprise, Mark Fitzpatrick, as Dr. Witt talked about, a little less than 25% of the vote, with about 13,500 votes going to him, with the precincts that are reporting at this hour. Additionally, Governor Democratic candidate Terry Pickens has been called as well by the AP, 67.25%, with about 40% of precincts reporting there. We've got those live results on the screen for you. Jill Kirkham coming in behind her with just 15% of the votes. Again, just 40% of precincts reporting. We also learned that the race has been called for Senator Jim
good night, Pinko.
Risch. We are going to be talking to him momentarily. Longtime incumbent. No surprise there, Dr. Witt.
No surprise. I think he just had his 83rd birthday, right?
Wow.
So he's been in office a long time public servant. But that's another 6 years, so he would be 89 if he serves the full 6 years, if my math is correct.
Wow.
So he must have a lot more energy than I do.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's up for election, Simpson, Fulcher, you've got these men who have been, Fulcher newer, obviously, to Congress, but Simpson and Risch have been in office for quite a long time. It's difficult for any other Republican candidate to come in and really oppose them, primary them out at this point.
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys probably have significant amount of resources stockpiled to kind of scare off the casual challenger. And, you know, when you're the incumbent, you have the frank, you can reach out to people, you can offer constituent services, and you just have, whenever you say something, it's in the news. It's an added advantage.
Yeah. All right, actually, I want to send it over now to Justin Core because Justin is tracking those results for some other races.
More breaking news. Another race has been called by the AP. This on the Democratic side for Senate. They're saying that David Roth will be the representative of the Democratic Party. You can see him winning pretty much all across the state pretty handily. So as Morgan already reported, with Jim Risch, the incumbent, winning on the Republican side for the U.S. Senate, it will be, according to AP, the incumbent Jim Risch, Republican versus Democrat.
Let me go back and see what I was saying.
Speaking of Democrats, we've got Aspen Shumpert live from Democratic headquarters
when
tonight.
Drazen loses to Tina again.
The party leader.
When Drazen loses to Tina again.
Downtown Boise at the Idaho Film Society, where Idaho Forward, the Idaho Women Forward organization.
Yes, you did mention we were screwed.
For the Democratic candidates that they endorse for state and federal candidates, that's Idaho Governor, Attorney General.
I forget the question. I should have started talking about it right then. My bad. I'll try to remember.
How are you feeling, and how is the atmosphere here tonight?
I'll try to remember.
Yeah, there's a lot of great energy tonight. I think Democrats and voters across the state are looking for change. They're looking at the status quo and the types of decisions that are being made, like rubber stamped, $1 billion for ballrooms while people are losing their health care. And so it's exciting to see just that.
We're screwed. Yeah, I said that we were going to lose. We were going to lose. Or basically, I mean,
we're on the ballot today. When you go down,
I don't even know what it is. I'm not even going to try.
But we're also seeing
told you so. We were going to lose.
Support for the Republican control in Washington. And again, those concerns, those day-to-day
Indeed,
concerns
yes, they do.
About, is home ownership ever
I told you that we were going to lose. Yes.
Can they get health coverage? Can they pay their utilities?
Or that'd be Drazen again. Drazen can't beat Kotek.
Someone who's working full time. We're seeing working families putting in the work, and we need an economy that rewards work.
Here. Yeah, I think I remember it now. What's going to be different? What's different about now compared to the last 4 years? Compared to what's going to be different with Portland? If we're screwed, we've already been screwed, right? So what's going to change? I guess that's the question. What's going to change now that she's going again versus how it's already been? I mean, all people are going to do is still live in the same thing that they've been living in for the past 20 years of Portland. Okay. You're still alive. You're still surviving. Yeah, you may hate it, but people still stay. People still move there. So, I mean, that's the question. What's going to change because she won again? Is going to dig a deeper hole. More businesses will leave. More businesses leave, but businesses start up as well, right? Not big companies, maybe not, but they're not trying to create a big company market. Portland wants the hippie walking distance, the Mississippi, the Alberta, the downtown. They want the Pearl District stuff. That's what they want. That's the culture, right? The salt and straws, the pop-up, the voodoo donuts. That's what they want, right? They want to give people these chances to. So, yeah, you might have big businesses leave, but that's what they want, right? Yeah, 15-minute cities. They want that. But I'm saying, even with that, I mean, that can eventually affect. But You understand what I'm saying? Like it's going to be the same way as it's been, right? You're still going to live there. People are still living in multiple counties. It's still going to be the same as it's been the past 5 years, the past 10 years, the past 15 years, the past 20 years. It's still going to stay the same. Yeah, it's just going to be more years of the same stuff that you've already been dealing with, or people have been dealing with, right? So it is what it is. We just get hopeful for change. Yeah, the change ain't happening. I know. I understand. That's why it's like it's outnumbered, right? Oregon's outnumbered. This is a governor race. Portland or Oregon is not a red. It's not a red. It's not red. And I don't know why people have been trying to tell people for years, oh, yeah, it's red on the east side. East side don't matter because there's only like 1,000 people in each town. It doesn't matter. East side does not matter. East side of Oregon does not matter. And if people are listening from Oregon, sorry, that busted a bubble, but that's the truth. East side does not matter whatsoever. You have LeGrand, you have Pendleton, and if those places grow more and more, right, which every place does, you get liberals there, whether you like it or not. Baker City, Hermiston, like really, like it'd be nice to Google those places, how the population of those places, like the bigger cities that are still small. How many people live in those cities, right? Act like they're all Republican, and then add that number up to Portland, Salem, Medford, Eugene, and see if it equals out to the same amount of number. That'd be a good project to see the numbers in each of these smaller cities that are on the east side that are supposedly red, right? Because Benton isn't red no more. Redmond isn't red no more. So add those numbers up to see if they equal out the blue cities within Oregon. So it can't be it's not a red state. And I said this back in 2022 and 2020.
In politics in Idaho for quite a long time, is very active. She has 45% of the vote with about.
Yeah, they're still blue, probably LeGrand and all that. All the major cities are blue. Yes.
But in the meantime, let's send it.
I don't know if Redmond is red. I don't know if Redmond is red. Ben isn't. Red. I guarantee that Redmond is probably purple at this point. But do it. Add up the numbers as a project to see the numbers. Do one of your videos, your things. Add all the numbers up in those smaller towns across Oregon, right? And then add up the West and just see. Add up the blue cities and see if it's equaled out as far as like the red cities. If the number equals out to all the population of the blue cities in Oregon, I guarantee it won't be the same.
Of the vote with 42% reporting she will be the nominee in District 1 there in Congress. Over in the 2nd district, so this is over on the east side of the state. This should probably be called any minute for Ellie Gilbreth, 56% reporting. She's up about 75-25 over Julie Wiley. And then on the Republican side, no surprise here, Mike Simpson up big, 60% of the vote right now with 26% reporting there. Morgan?
Yeah, Russ Fulcher. Did you touch on Russ Fulcher? I apologize if you just did. 76%.
Yes.
You did talk about Russ Fulcher.
76%. Yes.
Okay.
In total control right now.
There we go. Okay. And again, some of these races, statewide races, not congressional, but statewide races are unopposed right now, which is interesting. Brandon Wolf in particular, our controller, it's my understanding he just took the stage at one of the GOP events. John Webb, who's been down at that event, said he's anticipating Governor Little coming in any moment to talk and maybe give a victory speech there.
Yeah, it's early, but it's really clear that he has a margin that is unlikely to change much. And so Brad Little will be the Republican nominee on the ballot in November.
Yeah.
So.
And Terry Pickens. Yeah,
and
the
Terry
Democratic.
Pickens. And both of these people have run for that office before. I'm sorry, Terry Pickens maybe ran for Lieutenant Governor. Yep, correction. But she's run a statewide campaign, has some experience, and will, I'm sure, put on a good campaign. The odds would be steep, right? We haven't elected a Democrat statewide since, what, 2004, maybe, 2006? Marilyn Howard, Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Okay.
So who served back in the early 2000s.
Wow, that's a good stat. I like that. We'll have to bring that back.
I don't know if it's good.
10 o'clock. Well,
but
no,
it's-
you know what I mean. It's interesting
Yeah.
because I think, we did formally have Democratic governors in the state of Idaho.
We did. When I moved to Idaho, we had a Senate that was evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans, and we had 4 people in Congress, and 2 of them were Democrats. So it has happened.
Right.
It just hasn't happened for a really long time. I do think that, like Lauren was saying a minute ago, they have a Democrat running in every district.
Right.
Right. 2 cycles ago, a third of the seats were unopposed in the November election.
Wow.
So this is a good showing for the Democrats to have found candidates to stand in each of those districts.
Yeah, they've certainly made a concerted effort. All right, Dr. Witt, thank you. We are going to continue our coverage on Channel 7. Of course, you can watch on KTVB on your smart TV or your mobile app, as well as ktvb.com, as more of these election results continue to trickle in and as more of these races are called. But as we mentioned earlier, the governor GOP race has been called. The Democratic governor race has been called. Some congressional races have been called as well. Senator Jim Risch winning the primary for the GOP there. Again, tune in. Justin, Dr. Witt, myself, we will be joined also by Secretary of State Phil McGrain and all of our reporters all across the Treasure Valley for you.
The congressional side, this one in the 5th district, challenging Janelle Bynum.
Yes, and remember, this is Oregon's lone competitive U.S. House district. So Republican Patty Adair released this statement. It's pretty long, so I'll read part of it for you. The bold, I thought, is what was the most important. She said, "I never planned on running for Congress. I am not a career politician. I'm a proud mother, wife, businesswoman, philanthropist, and 4th generation Oregonian who has spent her entire life serving others. I'm not a partisan. I'm a problem solver who prides herself on bringing people together and delivering results that improve Oregonians' lives." I'm trying to scroll down on this screen. There we go. And then she goes, "In Congress, I won't just talk about bipartisanship when the calendar turns to an election year, as our current representative does. From my very first day in Congress, I will focus on reaching across the aisle to build consensus and deliver solutions for Oregonians. I will tackle the cost of living, ensure that government remains accountable to the people, prioritize public safety, and fight for increased access to truly affordable health care. Above all, I will put the needs and views of my constituents first, not the views of political parties or special interests." Now, again, remember, she is going to take on incumbent Democrat Janelle Bynum. This is a district that stretches from South Portland across the Cascade Range all the way out to Bend. And remember, the district was flipped to Republican for the first time in decades back in 2022, before Janelle Bynum then took it back for the Democrats in 2024. So this could be a competitive race that the Republicans could possibly flip back to red in November. Right, back to you.
You mentioned the size of it. To give you some context, Janelle Bynum is a former mayor of Happy Valley,
Yes.
and Patty Adair is a commissioner in
County.
Deschutes County. So a big geographical difference
Totally.
between
It's
a huge
crazy
district.
how wide that district is.
Yeah, so a big district there. That's the 5th district. Wesley, thank you so much for that reaction there from Patty Adair. Let's run back through the races one more time. We're going to start with the Senate race. Jeff Merkley there running for re-election in the Senate, 93% of the vote. He has wrapped that primary there for his re-election bid. Let's move to the congressional races here. The 1st district, Suzanne Bonamici cruising to victory there. The 2nd district to challenge Cliff Bentz. You can see we have on this side for the Democrats a number of them running, and you can see Chris Beck. That race has been called as well by the Associated Press. 34% of the vote. Let's move to the 3rd district. Maxine Dexter took over for longtime Congressman Earl Blumenauer. She is cruising to re-election there as well. Not a competitive race. And we do have some breaking news in right now. The Associated Press has actually called that Republican primary for Christine Drazen. So the results we've been showing you all night showed that margin holding pretty steady, about 43 to 44% of the vote. So the Associated Press, that is breaking news, has called that race for Christine Drazen. Ed Deal there, 32%. You heard from Barry. He's optimistic. A lot of votes still to be counted, but we have not seen that margin really shrink as more votes are updated to the count. So Christine Drazen, that race has been called by the Associated Press. We'll see if we have anything from either of those candidates, any of those candidates, I should say, throughout the evening. we heard from Christina that Christine Drazen was not going to say anything until that race was called. So we're going to wait and see if Christine Drazen has anything to say on that race. But let's go back out to Chris Dudley's campaign event in Southwest Portland with Victor Park, and we'll get back to those congressional races if we can. Victor, so we're reporting the AP has called that race for Christine Drazen. Any reaction there?
Yes, in fact, as you were saying that, I was talking to some voters on the right side of my photographer and asking them about this, and they said they would absolutely support Christine Drazen. They believe that they're not actually giving up on Chris Dudley's campaign. They believe that this is the beginning of a movement, but when asked about Christine Drazen, they said they would support whoever is the Republican nominee because they believe that this is the chance for a Republican to flip Oregon for the first time in decades to Republican. So that is the reaction coming in right now here at Chris Dudley's campaign. It has been a lot more quiet since the results started coming in. Obviously, Dudley performing third in this race. But again, people here jumping on the bandwagon for Christine Drazen. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Victor Park there at Chris Dudley's campaign event. That race has been called. Third place for Chris Dudley, 16% of the vote. Barry Mangold is at Ed Deal's campaign. Barry told us earlier, speaking with Ed Deal, that he was optimistic as votes were counted that margin would shrink. Barry, if you can hear me, we're reporting that the Associated Press has called that race for Christine Drazen. So it is over, according to the Associated Press. Has there been any sort of reaction there to that news?
Well, it was just about 10 minutes ago, right, that Representative Ed Deal took the stage and said that the night is still young and that they are still looking for results from a number of big counties, as he phrased it. Wasn't sure if that big is referencing the size.
My bad. I'm sorry. I was over here talking, thought it was on. Disappointing all these women running outnumbered. Yes. Trump cannot win. No. Or they're not. So frustrating. They're not. Okay, hold on. Let me focus. They're not. Trump can't win. They can't win Oregon. They can't win Oregon, even with a Trump endorsement. I promise you that. They cannot win Oregon, even with a Trump endorsement. Okay, Oregon is a red state. That's what I was just talking to Geyer about. It's a red state. Hopefully, Geyer will take up my advice and do the little investigation with the numbers and add all that stuff up. If he's listening, if he's still in here. Oregon cannot win even with a Trump endorsement. It won't win. It can't. I've said it. I said this stuff like years ago. I said this stuff. Joe Ray. I like Joe Ray. I know her. Why don't David Smith have a picture of him? What? Like, you're going to Congress, you're going to be a senator and you don't even have a picture of you?
District Barbara Call This is to challenge on the Democratic side.
U.S.
Suzanne
Republicans
Bonamici
are
in the 1st
sold in
district.
Oregon.
So she has won that race. Let's go to the 2nd district.
And it's the same with
No
Washington.
surprise here.
Washington
The
can't win
incumbent
either.
Congressman has won.
So
his
it doesn't
primary
matter,
in
and
the
that's probably why they don't
Republican
even
race in the
count. I
2nd
don't.
district there. Let's go to the 4th.
It's probably why
In that
they don't
4th
even count.
district, there's only one person running against Maxine Dexter, so that's why we're not showing you that
So
side on the Republicans. This is the 4th
Oregon
district.
has gators and
Here,
snakes
Monique
too.
Despain
They are
undeclared
called
the winner,
liberals.
87% of the vote. This is to
Yeah.
challenge Val
They
Horn
are, Laura.
in that
That's what
4th
they're called.
district. And on the 5th district side, to challenge Jeanette Bynum, you heard a little bit from Wesley there. Patty Adair, the Deschutes County Commissioner,
Blue. I'm
has
sorry.
been declared the winner in that race, 60% of the vote. And similar to the race on the Democratic side in the 6th district, there's only one Republican running against Andrew Salinas, so we're also not showing.
What's
you that.
Jonathan Lockwood? Looks like a
We are
beta.
standing
Like,
by, waiting for Christine Drazen to speak.
and
in
you
the
guys are getting to hear
meantime, say
Drazen
that one more time,
against Tina.
Sean.
Well, we know which one's the pitcher, and
So
which
we have
one's the
Wesley
catcher.
Ogles.
Just
This
wait
is-
till
we're all
they
doing
get
this
up
together
here.
here
Two
live
women
in
going
front,
at it.
figuring out where we're going.
Huh.
Wesley Ogles at the live desk for us now with some more reaction. So it looks like Maxine Dexter behind you.
Yes, I promised this. We finally got the video for you guys.
What is
so I'm
this?
actually gonna
Vote
have to
what? What's on
keep
your
it full.
shirt?
It's pretty short, but then you guys can listen to it in full.
What's on your shirt?
Thank you so
Oh.
much, Oregon's third. We won tonight. It is the first step towards re-election, and I couldn't be more grateful to be in this fight with you every day. Voting matters. You used your voices, and we need to all make sure we show up in November. Stay loud. Thank you so much, Oregon's third.
So that's about it. Pretty short. I'm still looking at Christine Drazen's social media. I've been refreshing and refreshing. I know she's about to speak, but we have not seen her post anything online to tell you guys about. So I'm going to keep looking for reaction, let you know if anybody says anything.
This is a repeat of 2022. That's all it is.
Thanks for keeping an eye
So,
on that.
Kotek
As we
stays
pointed out,
in.
Maxine Dexter's race,
Portland stays the same. It's
that
not changing,
district
guys.
is not competitive,
It's not going to
so
change.
she will likely cruise to
People
victory
can
there as
say,
well.
"Oh, it's
That
going to
is
be
a,
Trump," and Trump.
heavy lean
Trump's never.
Democratic district
He
there.
endorsed.
We're going to go back to
Joe
Christine
Kent.
Drazen's campaign right now. Christina Giardelli is there for us. We are
He
standing by
endorsed Joe
waiting
Kent.
to hear
Got Joe
from
Kent
Christine
in.
Drazen. The Associated Press
Nothing.
has
He
called
hasn't
that
done
race.
nothing for
In fact,
Oregon.
you can see
Trump's
this
never
is
done one thing for
Republican
Oregon.
Representative Shelley Bossart Davis there speaking. Let's listen in.
Times, truly. And this to date will be my favorite. It will not be my favorite by the end of the year, but tonight is my favorite introduction thus far because I get to say the results so far are in, the race has been called, and I get to introduce the Republican nominee for governor 2026 and our next governor of the beautiful state of Oregon, my friend, Christine Drazen.
Not the next governor. She's not the next governor. There's Taryn. Taryn went to Drazen's? I guess that's where the money's at. That's where the network. That's where the networking's at. Is at Drazen's. It's not going to be at Ed's. Makes sense. Makes sense why she'd go there. I can't see everybody's turning around.
Last time they ran in 2022. And here are those results that we're looking at in that Republican primary right now. Christine Drazen, 43% of the vote. Here she is taking the mic.
Hi. All right, y'all. I could not be more excited to be the Republican nominee for governor in the great state of Oregon. Can you feel it?
Once move to a male
This is history.
ran red state.
Tonight, we are making it. And you're here, and you're a part of it, and we're going to do this together.
That's going against Tina Kotek.
I would like to start by acknowledging my opponents in this race. You guys?
And she didn't even debate, you guys. She did not debate. These mayors.
This was an incredibly diverse, strong field of Republican candidates for governor.
How come these people don't? How come these people don't debate?
That care deeply about the future
Yeah, she's
of our
way too
state.
soft.
They want our state to be better. They were willing to
Peter,
put their names on the line.
The mega hat don't make no difference.
Make the drives, stand in the
Don't make no
rooms,
difference.
answer the questions, and
Trust
fight
me.
for the future of our state. And I'm grateful for that. I am grateful for them. I'm grateful to have fought this fight with them.
What's a mega hat going to do on her? Nothing.
And now it's time to unify.
Oh my gosh.
It's time for us to come together.
I'm going to
It's
do
time
the
for us
work.
to
I'm going
recognize
to watch.
that this is not about fighting our own. This is about restoring our state. This is about
Put your
giving our
chest,
state back
lady.
to the people of Oregon who are so desperate for this to be the place that they love again. We can make this the best state in the nation to raise our families.
You can't be a governor. Almost went. I'm about to do a Nick Fuente.
This
Just
can be
vote
the best
for
state in the
Tina
nation to
Kotek.
start a
Just
business.
principle. Let it burn down.
And we know that this can be the best state in the nation for our kids to get a world-class education.
This is
but only
establishment.
with new leadership.
This is all establishment. I've been in Oregon. I've done that. I've been there. It's all establishment. They did the same thing back in 2022. It's all establishment.
With you and for
All
you.
establishment.
We are
I might do a Nick. On it.
None of this can happen.
I might encourage my Oregon folks just to vote for Tina Kotek.
Making the decision
Seriously.
to do more than they have ever done
Burn it
before
down.
to fight for the future of our state. We know how tough this road is going to be. Because what is our goal? Fire Tina Kotek. We know the assignment.
They don't listen to us.
She cannot have a second term. We cannot afford it.
She
The
always
people
happens
of our
to her.
state cannot afford it. Those who are hurting on our streets can certainly not afford it. One more year of kids in our
Haven't gone to
schools
the
that are not
streets.
learning, that are not getting diplomas that have any meaning. None of us can afford 4 more years of this. So we're going to fix it.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. I'm predicting it. I'm prophesying
I
now.
want to thank every single person in this room that has been a part of this campaign. You have walked and knocked on doors. You have donated. You have absolutely been willing to endorse in a very crowded primary. You've been willing to tell people how important this race is. You voted. You asked other people to vote. You were a part of this movement. You were a part of this win tonight. And here's the thing, I'm going to ask you to be a part of the win in November. Because nobody does this alone. If you really want to fix something that's as broken as our state is, it's going to take every single one of us doing everything we can wherever we are to make it better every single day. I'm going to ask you to do more than you've ever done before. I'm going to ask you to pay attention to politics. I'm going to ask you to care. I'm going to ask you to have conversations with people. You probably know lots of people in your life that say, I have never voted for a Republican in my life. And I'm going to ask you to have conversations with them and say, what about now? What about now? This is the time. Because it is so much riskier to stick with the status quo than it is to do the smart thing and vote for better. Vote for our futures, vote for our families, and vote for our state. This is the year that we encourage people to make the decision to turn our state around together. I want to thank my family who's here tonight. Y'all. My husband, Dan. We just celebrated 29 years. And he's clearly a trooper. And I'm going to thank my kids.
Lucky guy.
Ava, Christian, and Isaac are my joy. And I love you guys. And I'm grateful for you being you. And I'm sorry to embarrass you like this in public. But thank you for being a part of this and being so supportive and enthusiastic about how important this is and being willing to be in this with me and with everybody in this room tonight. Thank you. I'm also going to do a shout out to my dad, my brother, my aunt, my uncle. Family makes all the difference. My nephew's here. Thank you guys for being here. And my team, y'all. I would just like to thank my team. If you are a member of the Drazen team, can you guys give a hoot and a
What kind of
holler
husband
and
does
raise
she
your
have?
hands? Drazen team.
Well, the thing about California will be a little bit better. At
I
least it's
love it. I
mostly,
love it. I love it. I have the most incredible
mostly
team
men,
in the business,
but-
and they are absolute professionals, and they are willing to go the extra mile, and they understand the level of innovation, sophistication, attention to detail, and frankly, customer service that's required to treat people well while you're asking them to vote, because it doesn't happen everywhere. So I'm grateful for my team. So here's where I want to leave you guys with tonight. This is a night to celebrate. This is a night for you. This is a night for our state. This is a night for our families. This is a night of hope. And I want all of you to remember where you were tonight, because we're going to get together again. We are going to get together on November the 3rd. And we're going to talk then, right? And what are we going to do? Win! Thank you guys for being here. God bless, and God bless Oregon.
That is Republican Christine Drazen as she celebrates her victory in the primary race to be the Republican nominee for Oregon governor. There it is, the AP calling that race. She will take on Tina Kotek in November. A lot of eyes will be on that race, that rematch, as Governor Kotek runs for re-election and Christine Drazen attempts to be the first Republican in more than 40 years to win that office. Certainly a lot of eyeballs will be on that race. We will keep on that for you here at K2. That will do it for our special edition of K2 News. We have all the results right now
guys.
on K2.com. We also have another newscast coming up on KUMP at 10 o'clock. And of course, we'll be back at 11 o'clock for K2 News at 11. Our team will have all the wrap from all of those events you just saw, as well as all the races that we are watching here at K2. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have a great night.
Well, that's that. Everything else, I think everybody saw their stuff. Good night. What a great night. What a great night. Hey, fellow kids, can I get whoop whoop? Yeah. Maybe we trade Cali for Canada. Who knows? I don't know. They want people to get wrapped up in this stuff. Like I said earlier, it's a distraction. They want people to get wrapped up in this. Anywho, what a great night. Julian, you say such things. Don't you dare say such. Yeah. That sucks. I want to show you guys something on a different note. Try to do something. I was going to show it earlier today. I was trying to find a video, and it's very hard. And I called my one of my friends, to even ask him about, is there any videos of us? Because a lot of times when I say things, I feel bad because I don't have like proof, because nowadays just saying something isn't like proof no more like it used to be, right? Like nowadays, like you have to have video. You have to have video that there's proof of something. Like prove it that you did it. Like hear an audio clip or a video. And I know a lot of times I say things like from me in the past or what I used to do and things like that. I'm like, I don't have videos. And I called my friend. I was like, is there a video? I found something today. When I was on earlier streaming, I found something. I typed something in like the Playhouse. I was typing in Jammin' 95.5. I was just trying to see if like, 'cause I've been looking for a long time. Like, is there videos of any work that I've done that I talk about? I'm like, I can't find none. I'm like, and I came across this one, and I'm like, who is this dude? But the thing about it, like it's from the station. I hate to even like, and I'm going to show you guys, but I hate to show it because like it's not me, but it's actually the same exact room where I DJ'd in, and I know the whole setup and and it's like, okay, it's still kind of cool to show so that some people who don't know how this type of stuff works could actually see it. But I'm like, it's from 2008. I'm like, and I texted my friend DJ Matt Rock, who actually worked at the radio station too. I'm like, is there anything? He texts me back, and he's like, I don't have nothing. He said, what did he say to me? He said, no. He said, because I asked him, I was like, I said, do we have any YouTube videos of us that you know of? I have nothing to prove or show that I worked for Jammin'. I do have a photo book of stuff, but I mean, and he said, no, we don't. I didn't even have a phone that could take video camera footage back then. I'm just like, and I start laughing. And then he said to me, he said, the only thing I have for myself is I recorded my mix shows live on air. Also, y'all were the ones that had 2 pages and sidekicks back then. And I wrote him back. I said, meaning 2 pages? Like, what did he mean? Because he said sidekicks. And I'm like, what does that mean? He said, no, sorry, voice talk, 2-way pagers. Because we had 2-way pagers. And I don't know if any of you guys remember what a 2-way pager was. That was the big thing back in the day, 2-way pagers, before it went to Crackberry. Crackberry was the new biggest thing after 2-way pagers. And 2-way pagers were legit because you used to call it beaming. You'd beam each other. So basically, it was like it wasn't a phone. It was a personalized, like small thing, like a phone that was like a laptop, and you could open it up. You could text, write emails, but that was about it. You weren't going on the internet and nothing like that. And so all the industry had it, like major rappers and performers and all that. And to exchange numbers and information, you would flip this thing open and hold it next to the other person, and all your contact information would switch over. So they called it 2-way paging. So a lot of us had those things, 2-way pagers. What do they look like? Let me see if I can find something that shows what they look like. 2-way pagers. So you guys could actually see images, 2-way pagers. They were similar to that. Yeah, mine was gray. This is them here. Oh man, this is funny. 2-way pagers. 2-way pagers. So this was 2-way pagers. They're like this. Motorola, they're like these type of things, like that. You flip open and had a little keyboard, and that's all they did was like text, right? Send stuff. This was more of the one I had. Like, yeah, one of these two. And the whole industry had them. Yeah, they were 2-way pagers. Why were they called 2-way pagers? I don't know, because I think this was like one of the first texting type of things. And so anyway, so I was like, he's like, that's all you had. I'm like, dang. I was like, and I told him about this video, and I was like, I don't even know this dude. But the point is, here, in case you guys don't know, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. But this is what the studio looked like where I actually DJ'd. So those were the turntables to the left of him, right? What he's doing with his right hand right now, he's turning down the speakers and he's flipping a button. And up here in the glass, you can see someone in the glass on the other side of the glass. So he's turning it down to hit a switch so he could hear this person talk, and it would come through the speakers. Once the person was done talking, he'd flip back so that he could hear the music in the room. So much money,
you represent for all your friends and family on the airways, okay? Sounds good, right? Also going to check in with the Jam and Street team. Still partying at the Car Toys on Northeast Lancaster. Blazer chickens and all that good.
Because the music.
Checking in with them real soon. DJ, keep dropping that fire, man. It's Jam 95.5. Let's go.
So that's what we do. So that person in there, and that's called a post. So what she did a post. It's 8-bar. You say everything you have to say in 8 bars so that the DJ could go back into the mix on point. So you're fast on what you're saying. You have 8 bars to say it. The DJ is prepared for right when you're done. Boom, right into the next words of whatever song. Scratch it in, drop it, whatever you need to do. They're done talking, back into the mix. But this was the exact room that I was in back from 2002 or 2000 through 2005. I used to bring my daughter, and she'd sit right behind me. Like back here, back behind his back was like a filing cabinet that was like waist high. So I'd always bring my daughter, my oldest daughter, I'd bring her to the studio in her car seat. And when I had to mix, and she'd sit behind me in this room with the music playing. Yep, I had to do that a few times. But yeah, that was the studio at KXJM Jammin' 95.5. Good old days. I didn't even forward this to my friend. I should forward it to him. I didn't know who this DJ was. He came after me. DJ Daddy Dad. DJ Daddy Dad. Yeah, when I brought her, I was DJ Daddy Dad because I'd have to like turn around in between songs and make sure she was all right. I remember listening to you on the radio back in the day. That was like early morning traffic jams. You were up that early? I was actually in the mix when 9/11 happened. It was a morning because it was morning mix. You didn't know it was me until recently. Interesting. The Playhouse. The Playhouse. Yep. So, anywho, I'll see. I don't know if anything's going on. I'll probably wrap up here. Try to bring some light back into the heaviness of the night. So Mr. Bill is live, so you guys can go over to Mr. Bill. Go over to Mr. Bill. Again, you guys, please. I didn't know until now. D. Sherry, you didn't know what until now? What didn't you know until now? Was Bill showing it? He wasn't even showing us stuff, was he? Did he just start? You know, he's showing other stuff. Please, that was depressing. What was depressing? What was depressing, Mama Bear? 67% of you have Facebook. All right. 33 say no. Almost half. I'm still going to promote it, though, because if I can get to 100K, that'd be great. Get to 100K on Facebook. That'd be awesome. Yes, the results were, yeah. But don't get depressed. It's all right. For the moment, do it. Other than that, can't do nothing about it. It is what it is. It's already set. It's already set. It's done with. It's done with. So, yep, Mr. Bill is on, you guys. If you want to go over to Mr. Bill, I might go do something. Maybe DoorDash a little bit or something. I might. So, any noodle. Yeah. You guys have a good night. I'm out of here. I'm off. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. It was still fun, still good to watch, right? Probably see you tomorrow. See what's going on tomorrow. I'll play a debate tomorrow night for sure. I got a few. So we'll see what it is. All right. God bless you guys. Good night.
Yeah. On American streets. Yeah.
On American streets.
Yeah. Yeah. On American streets. On American streets.
Truth in the light, yeah, the whole world see. Faith front deep, where braves stand free. From quiet prayer to the place we meet. Quincy Franklin, bring truth on American streets. BCP preachers still spinning the beats. From DJ days now preaching in the streets. Fight for God and the freedom we keep. Still stand strong on American streets. Truth, truth, let the truth ring out. Faith, faith, that's what we about. See both sides, but we stand on truth. Call this nation back to its roots.
At its father's knee, where the roots run deep.
Freedom riders stood tall in the heat.
Now the same fire in his heartbeat.
Carry that truth on American streets. From DC down to the Texas heat. Minnesota cold, the Oregon trees. Live in the streets where the people meet. Roll nationwide on American streets. Truth, truth, let the truth ring out. Faith, faith, that's what we about. See both sides, but we stand on truth. Call this nation back to its roots. On American streets. On American streets. Thankful for family standing beside. Mods and supporters along for the ride. Sponsors and friends who keep it alive. Truth in the word is how we survive. Then Peter said unto them, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ, for the remission of sins, and ye shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. On American streets. 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 On American streets.